haya yameweza kufanya mambo yakawa magumu kidogo, kwa maana hakuna mvua, kumekuwa na ukame.
Je, ni viongozi au wadau ambao wanaonekana kutokuwepo na ustashi wa kuweza kushughulikia swala zima la utoshelezi barani Afrika?
Nafikiria viongozi ambao tuko nao barani Afrika ndio wanaelewa umuhimu wa kilimo katika hali ya kujenga taifa, lakini pia siku ambazo tumeziona hivi karibuni, mabadiliko sana sana ya hali ya anga yameweza kuwasumbua. Ile vita ambayo iko Ukraine na Russia pia imeweza kufanya mambo yakawa mazito kidogo, lakini pia ukiangalia hali ya economy ya uchumi ya mataifa mengi hayana fedha, hayana pesa ambazo wanaweza weka zaidi kwenye kilimo, lakini kwetu sisi kama Agra tunasisitiza ya kwamba tunaweza weka mikakati, we can prioritize things differently ili tuweze kufanya haya mataifa yaweze kuwa na chakula, waweze pia kuondoa hali ya ufukara na watu waweze kujikimu kimaisha.
Ni changamoto gani sawa na hatari ambazo zinajitokeza katika sekta hii ya uzalishaji katika siku za hapo mbeleni ambazo huenda zikahatarisha uzalishaji ambapo tunafaa tuziangazie kwa hivi sasa?
Kwa sasa ni mabadiliko ya hali ya anga, kwa maana wataalamu wanasema hili ni jambo ambalo tutaweza kuwa nalo kwa muda sasa, na ukielewa ya kwamba kuna mataifa, kuna counties hapa Kenya ambazo zina maji, mambo ya kutumia irrigation yanaanza kuwa ya muhimu sana. Jinsi ambavyo tunavyotumia mbolea pia inakuwa ya muhimu. Zile pembejeo ambayo wakulima wanapata inafaa ziwe ambazo ni za manufaa na zinaweza kuzalisha zaidi kuliko vile ambavyo zinazalisha saizi.
Tuangazie sanaa. Kuanzia mitaa ya Afrika Kusini hadi kwenye majukwaa ya densi duniani kote, amapiano ni mojawapo ya aina mpya za muziki zilizokuwa kwa kasi zaidi. Filamu mpya ya This is Amapiano inasimulia hadithi ya aina hiyo hadi sasa, ikiwa ni pamoja na changamoto mpya za uchezaji maarufu kwenye mtandao wa TikTok kila kona ya dunia. Ambwene Mwamaja na maelezo zaidi.
Kutoka mitaa ya Afrika Kusini, huu ni muziki wa mapiano. Umetafsiriwa katika lugha ya Kizulu. Tafsiri rahisi ya mapiano ni piano ama kinanda. Jina lilitokana na ushawishi wa awali wa muziki wa aina ya jazi. Ni mchanganyiko wa aina nyingi. Katika kazi inayofanyika studio, mwandishi alipata wasaa na watayarishaji watatu wa juu wa muziki huo.
Kilichobadilisha kila kitu, kusema ukweli, ni mdundo.
Unaposikia mshindo wake, unajua unasikiliza amapiano.
Mshindo unatakiwa uwe sawa, ni sauti nzito, lakini wakati huo huo unatakiwa uongeze tena buzz kidogo chini yake ili iwe hivyo. Kwa hivyo ndivyo huwa inasikika. Unasikia?
Amapiano ni sauti ya vijana wa Afrika ya Kusini. Ni mali ya vitongoji na viwanja vya burudani. Muziki huu ulijengwa nje ya upangaji wa miji uliotengwa na ubaguzi wa rangi. Vitongoji vimejaa aina mbalimbali za mitindo, muziki, shamra na utamaduni.
Soweto hapa ndio nyumbani. Hii ndio imefanya Daliwonga awe alivyo hii leo.
Daliwonga alianza kuimba katika kwaya ya shuleni kwao, na sasa ni mwimbaji mahiri wa amapiano.
Naam, na iwapo ilikupita, kampuni ya Apple imesema inatazamia kutengeneza simu yake ya iPhone 14 nchini India takriban miezi miwili baada ya simu hiyo kutengenezwa nchini Uchina. Kampuni hiyo inasema inafuata njia mbadala za uzalishaji kufuatia mvutano kati ya Marekani na Uchina. Na nchini Uganda, maafisa 4 wa polisi wamefunguliwa mashtaka na mwajiri wao baada ya kuvamia sherehe ya wikendi iliyopita na kumkamata bibi harusi kwa kosa la wizi. Afisa hao wanafunguliwa mashtaka kwa tabia isiyojulikana, na iwapo watapatikana na hatia huenda wakafuta kazi. Mwisho mwa mitikasi ni Telinas Moshagadi, panapo majaliwa ekamia dinami.
This is the way we're going to invade your sitting rooms once every week. Allah.
And this is what we mean. The originals. Lipua Lipua. Veve Productions. Orchestra Kiam. And so much more.
Mirindimo ya ngoma za rumba kutoka pembe zote za Afrika. Zilizopepea, zinazopepewa kwa kiasi ambacho hutang'atuka ng'o from your sitting room.
Wow. Buzi Buziana, Scholar Miel, Betty Beast, Fifi Mofude, among others.
Bridge over Congo with Simeon Mfumu Kimbangu.
And Winnie Marie-Jose on KBC Channel 1.
Nzambia sambela kate, ako sambela nani.
God does not worship. To whom will he worship?
Honorable Kajosu Mafu.
Karibuni sana to the Second Chance TV game show.
Tough questions.
Virunga National Park is located within which mountain ranges? Aberdare. Aberdare, that's your final answer?
Tough challenges.
3, 2, 1, go!
It's a survival for the smartest.
10 seconds to go. Who is the current president of Malawi?
The correct president. Wrong answer.
That is the wrong answer. Does it border to the east? Nakuru County. Nakuru County, you get 2,000 bob.
Premiering soon on Channel 1.
We're bringing the clock and the gun to come and show the youth them hard. There's a red. When you all look down on that bread. I hear an next you then.
Chatty, Montamasi, mix up. Why you no leave people business? I said below people business. Good God, I tell you about. I don't need another lover. I don't even have to bother. I found it in you. Now I feel brand new.
It's been a long time. We don't have no vibe like this. Play the music again. Yeah, reggae music again. It's been so
You bring so much joy to my world. Baby, tell me, baby, my favorite word.
Nasema in 7 minutes my guest. Indeed, the 6th day of September 2022. Good morning. This is KBC News Check and glad you could join us. My name is Ben Troy Njue. Anu Angeshi will be a sign language interpreter for this live newscast and for News Check. Yes, indeed, we are done and dusted with the elections, and this program is endeavored to ensure that you know exactly what is happening around you. Of course, what's happening around us as a country is a lot mostly on what transpired yesterday. First things first is that the apex court, that the Supreme Court, did uphold the election of President-elect William Ruto, who now, paves way to his swearing in Tuesday next week. A day like today will be the swearing in of Kenya's 5th president, and he had a speech to make as well. And of course, the reactions, many reactions in regards to the judgment of the 7-judge bench yesterday, led by Chief Justice Martha Koome. Of course, the main protagonist, that is Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister, did talk about respecting the court, but he did not agree with it. Actually, he said he vehemently is opposed to that judgment, but he said because of democracy and respecting the institutions that we have given the mandate to ensure that this country runs smoothly, and given that the apex court is the last course of court, then he said, yes, indeed, I do not agree with it, but I respect that. He's not the only one who was opposed to that. His counsel, led by senior counsel Philip Murgor and James Orengo, also poked holes in that judgment, talking about the court did not actually put or factor in all the evidence that they had in that. And something else that also transpired yesterday is that the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, made his first address, State of the Nation address, yesterday. And it's almost 1 year. It was actually 1 month since actually the president had spoken since the elections. And he also said that Kenyans need to scrutinize that as well. But first things first, before we endeavor in that, let's first of all cross over to Mombasa, where the Kenya Ports Authority have today, via their chairman, General Retired Joseph Kibwana, will be having the reception of 29 meters long, 25 Boland pool capacity tugboat. Let's first of all listen in.
Na imeletwa hapa ili iwe kitumika Lamu, na ndio tumeipa jina la MV Pate. MV Pate ni kisiwa kimoja kule Lamu. Kazi yake itakuwa ni kuleta meli na kusukuma meli kama zikienda kwa the jet. Kwa hivyo ni kwetu sisi tunafurahi sana, tumetumia pesa za kutosha 1.4 billion, na ni meli ambayo itatusaidia katika kazi zetu huko. Kwa sasa Lamu Port inaendelea vizuri, na tunazidi kununua vifaa vingine, mashine nyingine za kufanya kazi kwa hiyo port, ili mwisho Lamu itakuwa katika zile port za hapa itakuwa ni one of the best, na pia itakuwa inatumika sana kwa transshipment, yani mizigo inaletwa Lamu, alafu kutoka Lamu tunaipeleka kama ni Zanzibar au pale pengine, the rest kutoka Lamu. Hiyo ndio itakuwa sana kazi ya Lamu mpaka atapoendelea mbele zaidi.
Okay. Kuna mpango ambao ulikuwa serikali inataka kuanzisha usafirishaji wa mifugo.
Haswa ya Lamu itakuwa vizuri sana kwa mifugo. Watu wa livestock wametafuta pahali ambapo utakuwa mifugo kutoka North Eastern Province na nini inaletwa Lamu, inaangaliwa hapo kidogo na veterinary, iko safi, inaingizwa meli, inapelekwa kama ni Uarabuni, hasa wakati wa shughuli kama za Ramadhani nini, naweza kupeleka kondoo nini, wakati huo itakuwa kazi nzuri sana kwa wafugaji wa hapa. Kwa sasa unaendelea katika ile kutengeneza pahali, yani the facilities za veterinary. Watu wa veterinary na livestock wameanza kujitayarisha. Yes, ulikuwa na swali?
I just wanted to know what is the status of Lamu Port at the moment in terms of development and marketing it to become more inclusive.
We are working very hard on it. As you know, it's a new port, and right now we have our teams going to our targeted market, that is Ethiopia, South Sudan. So it's a process and it's ongoing. And as soon as the connectivity is well done, the road system, Lamu will become very busy. Yeah. So, thank you very much.
Those are live pictures from the port of Mombasa, where the state-of-the-art tugboat MV Pate has been commissioned at the port of Mombasa, and actually it is a boat from the Republic of Turkey, and it is marked with a harbor lap, a salute, and also a bathing at the dockyard jetty at the KPA. Of course, the KPA chair, Joseph Kibwana, being the chief guest. A 29-meter long, 85-ton boat will add or fortify the Kenya Ports Authority there, and we'll be getting a more comprehensive report from that press conference a little bit later from our Mombasa team. Just in case you joined us, this is KBC News Check, and we are looking at we are keeping a keen eye on the current state of politics in the country. And before we crossed over to Mombasa, I was talking about the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, yesterday did make his speech just almost a month since the elections of August the 9th. And he talked about, yes, indeed, the court did pronounce itself, but Kenyans should, his word, will scrutinize that judgment. And of course, we're waiting for the 21 days to get into the nitty-gritties of the judgment yesterday. But first things first, let's hear what the head of state had to talk about yesterday in regards to the general election and the Apex Court ruling yesterday.
Fellow Kenyans, on the 9th of August of 2022, Kenyans participated in an election that ushered in new leaders at all levels of our governance realm. Following a dispute in the presidential election, a petition was filed in our Supreme Court for determination of validity of the results, and the Supreme Court has today pronounced itself on this matter. When I was sworn in as your president, I made a pledge to the country, a pledge to uphold the rule of law and the decisions made by the judiciary on all matters appertaining to our governance. Today, the Supreme Court made a ruling on the presidential dispute, upholding the results announced by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on the 15th of August, 2022. And in keeping to the pledge that I made to uphold the rule of law when I took the oath of office, I commit to executing the orders of this court to the letter. The process of handing over is in progress through the Assumption of Office Committee, which actually has already begun its work as of August 10th, 2022. And indeed, it is my intention to oversee a smooth transition to the next administration, and all the necessary orders to facilitate this process have already been issued. And because democracy is a work in progress, I urge the country to respect the institutions that midwife our new leaders. And in doing so, I also urge citizens to constantly put them under scrutiny, for this is the civic duty of every single Kenyan. In particular, this civic duty requires every citizen to constantly put the truth presented by our constitutional institutions to test. And they must test them for coherence, but also for correspondence. They must constantly scrutinize the coherence of the truth given by these institutions and to ask themselves whether the truth has been coherent from one election to another. Has there been a consistent pattern that is acceptable to our democratic ethos? We must ask ourselves, is it about numbers or is it about process? Which of these two is it? And can our institutions rule one way in one election and another way in another election without scrutiny? I do invite you, Kenyans, to keep vigil and indeed to hold all institutions to account. The second thing we must place under scrutiny is whether the truth given by institutions has correspondence. That is, do the truths given by our institutions correspond with what is observable by the citizen? True beliefs and true judgments must correspond to the actual state of affairs. But do our constitutional institutions meet this threshold? While we must appreciate these institutions, we must also hold them to account at every juncture. And their truth has to be consistent and coherent. This is the only way we will build our democracy. I want to take this opportunity to thank every single Kenyan for holding a peaceful election. And for this, I want to thank God, and I want to thank our political parties, but I also want to thank every single individual Kenyan for bringing us thus far. I want to wish well all who have won as they guide our country into the future. And I thank you all for the opportunity to serve. And I say, may God bless you all, and may God bless this great Republic of Kenya. Asante.
That is an extract of what the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, had to say yesterday after the Apex Court determination on the presidential petition. And it was actually the first public speech that he had made since August the 9th after the general election. First things first, he has thanked Kenyans for a peaceful election. This is something that as Kenyans we should be proud of. A lot of countries also were keen to see how we were going to conduct ourselves. And not only had we a peaceful election, we also had a peaceful presidential petition and judgment on. And yesterday, the Apex Court did make a determination on that. The president also talking about democracy is a work in progress. Indeed, it's true, because our new constitution is about just 10 years, slightly over 10 years old. And he has said that we need to respect institutions that midwife our leaders. We are talking about, of course, the executive, the judiciary, and also the legislature. Put leaders on scrutiny. And talking of scrutiny, we're expecting that on Thursday, we are going to be swearing in members of parliament for the 13th parliament and the 3rd Senate. So he says it's our crucial duty as Kenyans to put trust and truth in institutions so that we may fortify our democracy. Something else that he has talked about on that petition, and of course we'll be looking at that keenly with our panel of experts, is that yes, indeed, the court did make its determination, but we should hold all institutions to account. And they are asking how an institution like the judiciary could make a determination on an issue in one way in one election and another, and actually urging Kenyans to scrutinize that so that we may be able to hold all institutions to account. And that was President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday. What about President-elect? We had Nancy Okware, who was keeping a keen eye on that. Remember, he was watching together with his Kenya Kwanza leaders, family, and friends. They were watching that live from the current residence. Let's hear what he had to say after the Apex Court made their verdict.
President-elect Dr. William Ruto lauded the judges for what he said was their firmness and fidelity to the rule of law and the sovereign will of the people. He said he has welcomed the verdict with tremendous humility and that the court, in affirming his win, had acted with utmost fidelity to the Constitution.
I salute the judges of the Supreme Court who have performed their duty with utmost fidelity to the Constitution. They listened to all parties, considered all issues, applied the law, and demonstrated their learning, impartiality, and patriotism.
He said his win was a clear testament to many that they can rise to attain their ambitions if they believe in God and with hard work.
You know, the legendary Mamamboga and Boda Boda guys, they are the heroes of our campaign. They have opened doors and gates for their own children in every village, in every neighborhood, knowing very well that their children as well can become leaders.
Ruto saying time for politics had come to an end and the hard work of delivering the many pledges had come.
My administration shall do justice to all, regardless of their social status, religion, ethnicity, gender, whether they voted at all or whom they voted for.
The president-elect promising to reach out to President Uhuru Kenyatta on matters of transition of power, even as he committed to ensure completion of all pending projects.
I haven't talked to him in months. But shortly I will bring a call to him so that we can have a conversation on the process of transition. I take no offense at all that he decided to choose and support somebody else.
The president-elect maintaining that there was no enmity with his political competitors and that they should not live in fear, but has ruled out any possibilities of a handshake, saying a functional government requires a strong opposition to put it in check.
We will have an opposition in Kenya. There will be no handshake like the one we witnessed before. We are only competitors, not enemies. We vied to unite and strengthen Kenya, not to divide and weaken it. I therefore consider all of my competitors to be my worthy compatriots.
Ruto making it clear that in his administration, independent institutions will be allowed to discharge their obligations unhindered, saying never again will such bodies be availed for political operatives.
Wanasiasa wote wako na huru wakuwe na msimamo tofauti ya kisiasa bila ya kujali ya kwamba watashurutishwa, watalazimishwa, watafunguliwa mashtaka yasiyo na maana.
Once you put the right leadership into place, this is a beautiful country with very resourceful and hard-working people. All you need is to create the right environment for the people of Kenya to prevail.
A few hours after his victory was upheld by the Supreme Court, President-elect Dr. William Ruto says that he is ready to work and steer the country's economy forward, and that he is going to work with everyone regardless of their political affiliation. Musyoka reporting for Prime Edition from Karen, Nairobi.
Thank you. Nancy Okware was keeping a keen eye at the Deputy President residence in Karen. Now is the President-elect, and we were keeping a keen eye at the Apex Court for a determination. Yes, we have a President-elect who is on course to become Kenya's 5th president, but his journey has not been quite easy, bearing in mind that it had to make a pit stop at the Apex Court, that is the Supreme Court of Kenya, that was domiciled at the Milimani Law Courts. What are some of the issues that had been, or the court ruled on? And something unanimous is that the 7 judges, all of them sang in one voice and said that the elections did meet the constitutional threshold that is required for a free, fair and credible election. And perhaps we can have a look at what they were looking at. And the issue of technology really was one of the key issues that made even headlines in the country when it comes to us as journalists writing stories regarding that petition, because there was whether the technology that was deployed met the standards of integrity, verifiability, security, and transparency to guarantee accurate and verifiable results. The Supreme Court said that it was not persuaded that IEBC technology did not meet the standards of ensuring the accurate and verifiability outcome of the August 9. Of course, there was the issue of interference in the uploading and transmission of Form 34A from the polling station to the IEBC portal. And also some names came up of Venezuelans, but the court said there was no enough evidence. No enough evidence was adduced to show indeed that there was some interference with the uploading or transmission of the Form 34As from the polling station. Moving on to the third issue, that was there a difference between the Form 34As uploaded on the IEBC portal vis-a-vis the Form 34A received at the National Tallying Center and Forms 34A issued by agents at the polling station, where the Apex Court verdict ruled that there was no significant difference, and if there was any difference, it was not enough to nullify the presidential result that they were listening to that petition. On the fourth issue, whether there was the postponement of gubernatorial elections in Kakamega and Mombasa counties and also other electoral units in the country, did they add to the voter suppression to the detriment of the first petitioner, who happened to be the former Premier Raila Odinga? They said that indeed the IEBC did make a little bit of mistakes when it comes to the mix-up of the ballots and had to postpone that. But in law and in our election laws, they are permitted to postpone elections due to a number of reasons. But the key issue is they said that that was not exactly the era of the ABC to do that. Indeed, it was the printer who had the issue, but they said that there was no evidence that the postponement of the elections in the 8 electoral units caused voter suppression. We saw a number of Azimio One Kenya coalition leaders talk about that, the voter suppression, talking about the election should have been all round. And looking at Kakamega, we have an ODM governor. Looking at Mombasa, we also have an ODM governor. They're talking about that could have affected the turnout of the voter, called the voter suppression, so to say. On the fifth issue, they were checking whether there were unexplained discrepancies between the votes cast for the presidential candidates and the seat, where the apex court found that there was no evidence of unexplained discrepancies between votes cast in various elective positions across the country in favor of the president. On the sixth issue, the Supreme Court had to determine whether the IEBC carried out the verification, tallying, and declaration of the results in accordance with the Constitution, where the Supreme Court observed that IEBC, despite the few challenges that they had, did the declaration of results in accordance with the law provided. And the 4 commissioners, this is something that really came out, a divided commission. What so happens? The apex court did say that the 4 commissioners, indeed they did disagree with the chairman, but they were there when they started, and only during the last tallying is where the issues cropped up. But that was not sufficient to send Kenyans back to the ballot and dismiss that as well. On the 7th issue, this is something that was also brought up by civil society and civil society activist and Busia Senator-elect Okiya Omtata. Did the president-elect attain the 50% plus 1 vote of all votes cast in accordance with Article 138, subsection 4 of the Constitution? Yes, indeed. And this is something that also James Orengo did bring up and also brought that issue out after the apex court decision, where he said in most jurisdictions, the voter turnout is the one that is used, the number of registered voters is the one that is used to determine the voter turnout. Well, the Supreme Court finds that indeed President-elect William Ruto received the requisite 50% plus 1 vote as enshrined in the Constitution. On the eighth issue, they were determining whether were there irregularities and illegalities of such magnitude so as to affect the final result of the presidential election. And the Supreme Court noted that indeed there were alleged irregularities and illegalities, but they were not of a magnitude that would affect the election's result. And on the 9th issue, what reliefs or orders that the court can grant or issue. They said we declare the election of the first respondent, that is the President-elect William Ruto, as President-elect, valid under Article 143 of the Constitution. Well, the apex court did give us a abridged version of the verdict and said that in 21 days, it said that after 21 days, they're going to issue a comprehensive ruling on the same. And for now, let's hear what the learned friends or reactions of the lawyers after this Supreme Court verdict.
Of the Apex Court has elicited mixed reactions from parties involved in the presidential election petition. Led by Senior Counsel James Orengo, lawyers representing Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya, Raila Odinga and Martha Karua have faulted the unanimous judgment for failing to address pertinent questions raised, such as opening the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission service for a full audit.
We accept the decision, but we do not agree with it. The best way for this court to have made a decision was with the servers to be fully opened and all the election materials be placed before the court. But we wanted a proper audit.
The lawyers further claim the issue of foreigners infiltrating the Kim's was not addressed, questioning the Supreme Court's registrar's report.
The involvement of the Venezuelans for a full month before, half a month before the elections and up to the 16th of August was not explained. Gentleman Camargo's name was not supposed to be on Form 34A. If at all he was involved in this election, he was involved on the technology side. So to find it anywhere near a Form 34A raised more questions than answers.
Other petitioners such as Busia Senator-elect Okiya Omtata also expressed reservations with the judgment.
Nimeona kwamba court imeshatoa uamuzi
na hii ni mambo ya siasa, kwa hivyo siasa imeisha, watu warudi kazi.
Both camps would also have divergent views on the mentioned forged evidence on the sworn affidavits in court.
No, I mean forgeries, when the DCI, the Director of Criminal Investigations, what we put before the court, a lot of it was from an agency of government. I didn't see them talking about similar incidents.
Forgery is a criminal offense, and the organs that deal with criminal justice system in our country are at liberty to see if somebody deliberately forged documents and presented them to the Supreme Court. It is time action is taken.
On the other hand, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance legal team, led by lawyers Kato Kigen and senior counsel Kyoko Kilokomi, was also full of praise for the highest court in the land.
Imefanya haki, imeamua vile imeamua, na vile tunaona ni ya kwamba it has been faithful to the constitution, na tunafikiria sasa tuendelee na IBC pia iangalie kwa kindani vile Supreme Court imesema, na wa adjust election processes ndio tufurahie wote.
The implications are that Honorable William Samoei Ruto will be sworn in as president next Tuesday. That is 7 days from today. Yes, and that sends the country to finality and stability after the electoral cycle.
Kenya Kwanza government will not be just for the Kenya Kwanza supporters. It is a government for all the Kenyans. So do not feel left out as a Kenyan. Our doors are open. You belong here. We pray that there will be peace from now going forward.
Following the unanimous decision by the 7-judge bench to dismiss the consolidated 7 petitions, the country now looks forward to the 13th of September for the swearing in of the president-elect William Ruto.
Those were some of the reactions by lawyers, the learned friends, in regards to that from both the divide, or those who are for and those who are against that petition. But of course, Kenyans had their say, and let's now cross over to some reactions in Mombasa and Kisumu.
Mimi nimepokea haya matokeo kwa furaha kwa sababu hivyo ndio nilikuwa natarajia na hivyo ndio imetokea. Lakini ile ningeweza kusema kwamba katika election hakuna ruhusa. All of us we are winners because mwenye amechaguliwa hawezi kuja kuongoza watu wa UDA na watu ni ataongoza wa Kenya kwa uchumura, na sisi Kenya tuwajua hii nchi imeenda mpaka uchumi umeenda chini kabisa, na huo uchumi tukienda kwa supermarket hatuna watu wa ODM, hatuna watu wa Simio, sisi wote ni familia moja.
Sisi kama wakaaji wa Mombasa tunamuomba sana Ruto aweze kutusaidia kama itawezekana, aturudishie poti kutoka kule ije huku, at least zile kazi na zile offices ziwe zinaweza kuja huku, at least Mombasa yetu iweze kufanya nini, iweze kuamka. Na kitu kingine pia Ruto namuomba aweze kufanya kazi na wanasiasa wote na Wakenya wote, asibague Mkenya huyu ama Mkenya huyu, afanye kazi kama kiongozi wa Wakenya.
Kama kiongozi na huyu mwenzake walikuwa wanashindana na yeye, wote wako na wafuasi. Kitu tulikuwa tunaomba Mheshimiwa Ruto aite wale viongozi wengine waketi chini for the stability of the country, ndio tuendelee tuweke Kenya yetu kuwe mbele. Kenya ni kubwa kuliko hao viongozi kidogo, na sisi tarajia uongozi wa Ruto ufuate manifesto namna alivyotuambia, asiende nje ya manifesto yake, na hata kama itakuwa na maana kwamba ushuru uongezeke kwa watu ili apate kutekeleza manifesto yake, tuko tayari.
Kwa niaba ya kina mama na vijana, tunataka ile economic revolution itendeke. Tunataka kazi kwa yule mwananchi wa chini, tunataka kazi kwa vijana, maendeleo kwa kina mama.
Calm and normalcy in Bondo, the hometown of Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga. Residents going about their daily routine in a way that does not speak the language of the event of the day, the Supreme Court verdict. And while the verdict that upheld Dr. William Ruto's victory came as a disappointment to some of the residents, all they asked for was peace and unity.
To me,
I'm accepting the result as it has been announced by the Chief Justice. And anybody who is getting me right now can just urge you that you just accept it and move on. The country must go on.
I never expected such a verdict from the Supreme Court, because based on the evidence of the Azimio la Umoja, we as supporters, we were convinced that this election was null and void. So what we are waiting for now is to get direction from our presidential candidate, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga.
So based on the previous experiences on what politics comes with after election, we are used to this aspect of losing, complaining, and court issues. So that really doesn't add value to most of the residents now in terms of economic status, especially in their livelihood. So we have been brought up to now. In fact, the results has really hardened the perception of the way people think.
The residents also implored upon the incoming regime not to turn a blind eye to the region, even as they remained hopeful of victory someday.
The regime that is coming in, of course, for a very long time, this region has been in opposition, and as a result, there has not been much development as compared to the areas that have been in government. So probably I will expect the same, but if something happens, maybe I can be proven wrong if you can see new developments. But as you can see, the place, as you compare with other places that leaders have been supporting the government, there's a substantial difference on development.
Now that the decision has been made by the Supreme Court, I think it is absolutely necessary that now we have to move forward, unless otherwise. But as a law-abiding citizen, and now that Raila Odinga has also taught us democracy, I think we need to move on as a country.
The residents vowed to promote peace and coexist with other communities. From Bondo Town in Siaya County, I am Wycliffe Okech.
Those just some sentiments from Kenyans from Kisumu and also from the coastal city of Mombasa, which are perceived to be the strongholds of Azimio. Let's now cross over to Nyeri, which happens to be the deputy president-elect Rigathi Gachagua's home ground and home turf. Let's hear what the residents there had to say in regards to that judgment.
Song and dance in the streets of Nyeri town. A section of residents, including members of National Assembly elects from different constituencies in Nyeri County, following proceedings of the Supreme Court as projected on the huge TV screen. Moments after Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Martha Koome, announced the upholding of William Ruto's win. Governor Mutahi Kahiga with his deputy David Kaniniria promised to ferry residents to Nairobi in 50 buses to witness the president's swearing-in ceremony.
Watoto wa Maumau, na ukituona hapa sisi tulifanya maamuzi. Siku ya leo tunataka kushukuru koti kuu, the Supreme Court, kwa sababu imepatia heshima matumaini yetu na maono yetu kwa kupitisha kesi hiyo kama ilivyopitisha siku ya leo.
Sisi wote tufanye kazi kwa njia moja, na tunamwalika president wa tano wa taifa la Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, kuanzia hapa Nyeri kurudishia Wakenya shukrani.
Residents could not hide their joy after the unanimous verdict by the country's apex court.
Jina, mimi naitwa Charles Macharia. Mimi ni mfanyi biashara hii kaunti ya Nyeri, Nyeri town. Kwanza ni furaha ya kwamba kura yangu nimeona kweli inaongeaga. Kwa wakati huu ama kwa msimu huu, kura yangu ishaongea na ndio meelekezwa na kura yetu kwenye tulikuwa tunaomba. Naye Mungu ametimiza na ndivyo tuko na furaha.
Mimi naitwa Bao. Mimi ni mfanyikazi Nyeri.
businessman Nyeri. Nimefurahi sana kwa kupita kwa Ruto, kwa maana walisema hatakuwa president. Na Mungu ndio bere.
Ningehisi wapinzani ama the opposition, ningewasihi ya kwamba maana Wakenya wameongea. The will of the people have spoken. And when the will of the people have spoken, we urge them to uphold the rule of the law. And again, we welcome them to work with the government.
Kwa majina naitwa Mary. Nimeshukuru sana kwa sababu ile maombi tulikuwa tumeomba haikupotelea ndani. Kwa sababu William Ruto wakati alitangazwa kama mshindi wa IBC, mvua ilinyesha hapa Nyeri. Hata leo asubuhi Martha Koome akienda kutangaza mvua ilinyesha. Sasa tunaona kuna Mungu ako mbinguni.
Jina langu naitwa Mugoman Macharia. I'm here by Nyeri, nimekuja masomo. I'm pursuing civil engineering, but siku ya leo niko na furaha kwa sababu nimejua watu wa Nyeri like we are united and we are happy because dynasty is over.
Miguni. Mimi kitu yenye nilikuwa nataka kabisa iishe kabisa ni dynasty. Familia tatu iishe na imeisha, nimetosheka.
Grateful today kwa sababu ya huyo ushindi ambao umepeanwa leo na Supreme Court, na sasa obiretu sasa ni kuweka amani kote nchini.
Mimi ni mkaji wa hii Nyeri. So tungetaka kuongea as we are happy and we are grateful for choice of court for our president elect William Samoei Ruto, and we are especially going to do the work of together.
It was the nation moved in Nyeri town after area residents expressed their happiness and optimism after upholding of William Samoei Ruto's win. The area residents have promised to attend the swearing-in ceremony that will be held at Kasarani Stadium on 13th of this month. From Nyeri town, Nyeri County, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
Thank you indeed. Those were just sampling some of the reactions of Kenyans. And one common denominator is, despite the presidential petition not going in favor of one side, is that Kenyans are happy the electoral system and all matters elections are done and dusted. And now they are looking forward for a new government with vigor and, of course, with accountability. And now let's cross over. As you can see on your screen, that is the Maendeleo ya Wanawake chairperson, Rahab Muea, who is currently addressing the press in regards to the judgment by the Apex Court yesterday. Let's listen in.
That the decision will be the true will of God and the people of this nation. We leave it to them. They are the ones who gave us the justice, the judges yesterday. We are proud to have 3 women seated there, starting with the CJ, Philomena Mwilu, the deputy, and Jokindungo, and the men who are there. We have accepted the judgment on behalf of the women of this nation, and they are the ones who dealt with it, so we accept their will. We want to thank Kenyans who have kept peace and calm before, during, and after, and even today. I indeed want to salute Kenyans. It is time to embrace one nation in national building. I think of Raila, Baba, Right Honorable Prime Minister, this particular time, and his wife Amaida, and I truly hope and pray, and their children, that God in heaven can hold them. It has not been easy to work so hard for a nation and to find yourself where he found himself again yesterday. I say this as a Kenyan, as a voter, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a leader, and I've been a wife for close to 40 years before I lost my husband. I can imagine what Ida has got to go through. There are many who will celebrate, but my call today is to put yourself in the shoes of that family and ask yourself, if you were him, what would you do? My prayer is that God continues to give him his purpose in this world he brought him. As we think of Martha, who Maendeleo advocated for, and who today finds herself where she finds herself. We want to pray for her and for her children. So it is important then to say that Maendeleo as an organization works with the government, and we said this 2 weeks ago of the day. And so when His Excellency the President did the handshake with the former Prime Minister, Maendeleo embraced it, and we continued to advocate for it. It is on that basis, therefore, Maendeleo supported Azimio and Baba openly. Those of you who have been here for my press conferences, we try to be as truthful as we can, because that gives me peace. Then allow me then to say that when then His Excellency the President and his deputy found themselves where they found themselves after the handshake, Maendeleo continued with the right thing, and that was to support His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta and Her Excellency the First Lady. But before then, I want to say that we had worked very well. Personally, I was in the campaigns of 202. Current president talks about it a lot, the incoming president, when I stood for Yatta constituency for a member of parliament. We then worked together in 2013 when we were in TNA, he was in URP, then we joined into Jubilee. And in 2017, I remember he really mapped us out as we campaigned, and I went around this country. And he is an astute politician. We must give this to him. That maybe this divorce kind of thing was meant to reach him where he finds himself. I think God has a lot of ways of taking you to a destination. That has been his way of getting to his destination. So, Your Excellency, President-elect Dr. William Samoei Ruto, we say congratulations. You have worked hard. You have gone around this country, and for Mama Rachel, you have been on your knees, and God has found it fit to give you this honor. So on behalf of the board, the patron, there's so many million members, we congratulate you, sir. Now, my board has 58 members, 17 of which are from Rift Valley. And when you saw me talk here 2 weeks ago, I get calls, and this was supposed to have happened 2 weeks ago. But this is an institution. We carry the whole country. We take time, we are mothers. Here what you are seeing are grandmothers. We take time to do some of these pronouncements. And because the president is in office until Tuesday, we wanted also to wait and see how the court brings the finality it did. And so therefore, because of that, we hold ourselves before we say what sometimes would have been expected of us. So to you, sir, you are now the symbol of the unity in Kenya, the incoming President Ruto. What do we ask of you? Over 6,942,193 members voted on the other side. It is my prayer and hope that you find it in your heart. We have seen a lot of prayers around you. You find it in your heart to embrace them, and more importantly, it is my prayer today that you start by embracing the first family. You start by Her Excellency Mama Ngina Kenyatta, because a lot has been said. And those of us who remember your political journey, we remember 2013 when we came into office. We saw Her Excellency Mama Ngina Kenyatta pray for you and the president, kneeling, holding your ears. That is the mother who has brought this country this far. We shall not get blessings when we just throw away the journey of our lives. We shall get blessings when we go back to those who started us, where Kenya started. This country started with the founding father. That is history. We cannot do anything about it. This country had another President Moi. That is history. We cannot do anything about it. This country and President Kibaki. That is history, and we have to move on. And now we have the outgoing President Kenyatta. So I ask you, sir, with a lot of humility, find it within yourself to visit Mama Ngina Kenyatta. I may be saying the wrong thing, and if I do, my apologies. But I think it is only fair, from the many words we have heard in the last 5 years of campaign, to be able to find peace with her. She's an old lady. She was jailed for this country. None like her. We've heard many things, but we do know her sacrifices than that of her husband. Widowed at an early age, bringing up children. I know what it is today to be a widow when you have children. And standing for this nation in silence, we should not take her silence for granted. Her silence speaks a lot. And so we owe it to her, even as we go to the inauguration, to have her being the mother she has been, even as we celebrate. I also hope that you can find peace for Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. What we enjoy today, the democracy, it is courtesy of to Raila, his father, and his family. And we think about Mama Ida with a lot of prayers for her. So once again, I want to reiterate that Maendeleo works with the government of the day, and therefore we commit ourselves, Your Excellency President-elect Dr. William Ruto. You know when we met you last, you have a very good memory. So where we parted is where we are going to start. Files are there, letters are there. Whatever we were hoping to achieve, we hope for the women of this country who voted and did so well to you for the numbers, that we come back. And there, where we are buried, we will ask for forgiveness. We are Christians, we are mature, we are old women, so that we then come together as a nation and under your leadership. And I'm very happy that you have a very prayerful woman next to you who will remind you every morning, and that is very important. Who will remind you every night, and that is very important. So that we bring forgiveness into this nation, and true forgiveness. And the Church of God, we have seen a lot. So we also want to ask you, let us do that which is right for everybody. Half the country is not happy. Half the country says, we want to join you. So how do we do it? Open the doors for the other close to 7 million members of this nation. So we shall continue, Your Excellency, to come to you. We shall be looking for an appointment once you are sworn in and after you settle down, and that's what we said, so that Maendeleo is not new to you. You know the things we have done together before while you are away, we will be able to brief you where we are today. A lot has been covered over the last 5 years. His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, the outgoing president, has really supported us. Her Excellency, the First Lady, and we hope, because we were a family, that we shall pick our pieces and move on with this country, Kenya. I thank you, unless you have any questions.
Maendeleo ya wanawake chairperson Rehab Muya there giving her sentiments, or her organization's sentiments, in regards to what transpired yesterday at the Apex Court and the general elections as a general. And indeed, she has talked about embracing each other and bearing in mind that Azimio One Kenya Coalition had gotten support from Maendeleo ya wanawake organization. She's talking about the new president-elect William Ruto extending an olive branch to even those who did not vote for him, because now he is the president of Kenya and not for those who only voted for him. So he is urging all Kenyans to be one as we forge towards a more cohesive country. And for that and much, much more, we will be crossing over with my panel of experts here in the next hour, where we are going to be delving much deeper into the reactions of yesterday and the whole election as a whole. But first things first, let's have that break. On the other side of this 1 hour, we will be talking about matter state of the nation and state of politics in the country.
To get Change Your Thinking Skizatune, dial star 811 star 961 hash.
When you change the quality of your thinking, you change the quality of your life. sometimes instantly. Just as positive words can make someone calm, smile, or laugh, your thoughts will react to the world in real time. So, change the quality of your thinking.
Dial star 811 star 961 hash. Star 811 star 961 hash.
He's lived a tragic life. All these years, he's always been on his own.
Let's pretend this never happened. But even though I fixed her eyes, she can't handle brightness.
Master, I'm finally back to see you. So, you know, all these years without my blood, why hasn't his body even changed a bit?
I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to have a happy life.
Stop ringing the clock and the gun to come and shut the youth them heart. Yes, around red. When you all a look down on that tea bread. I hear a next youth dead. Whoa.
Chatty, Montamasi, mix up. Why you no leave people business? I settle down people business.
Good God, I tell you about I don't even have a lover. I don't even have to bother. I found it in you. Now I feel brand new.
It's been a long time. Without no vibe like this, play the music again. Yeah, reggae music again. It's been
You bring so much joy to my world. Baby, tell me where my favorite boy.
Hello there. Good boys gone bad. Eric Omondi has evolved from being a comedian to now being the king clout chaser.
How does a gospel artist make money?
Jaguar wept again. As a celeb, as a follows, but it's a time for artists to make bank. Right?
How is your relationship with Zari, considering that she dates young?
These are accessories. They do not make
Slap the guy.
Yo, what's up? My name is Ted Josiah.
Oh, mashallah.
You sing about serious issues, it will not trend. If you sing about Abiambosi,
now
bahati hata kuwa na machozi. Willy Paul ndio alikuwa anatoa machozi.
For your beat these boys with stones, that's all be logic. Yes, washukangi chini analeta pesa.
musicians are missing the point.
Do we sip water?
You are watching Pop Culture with Adhiambo with a Y.
Welcome back to News Check and thanks for keeping us company. Yes, indeed, yesterday a lot transpired yesterday and that is forming basis of our discussion here. Earlier on for the first 1 hour there, we were just more or less perusing over what happened yesterday. First things first, Apex Court did make the determination on the presidential election, affirming President-elect William Ruto's win in the August polls. Another thing that transpired yesterday is, of course, the reactions by people from all walks of life. We visited so many counties, Kakamega as well. We had Mombasa, we had Kirinyaga, we had Nyeri. Yesterday, it was actually a whole load of checking other counties, how things are in the country, not forgetting right here in the capital Nairobi. Also, IEBC had a presser for the first time ever. They have been clean and vindicated by the court in regards to elections. So a lot of reactions, and that is what is forming basis of our discussion here. Let me now rope in my panel of experts, beginning from my immediate left. We have Charles Omanga, who is a political analyst and governance expert, and is also an advocate of the High Court. Just next to him, we have Tolsten Alenga, who is a political analyst, and next to him, we have Hudson Ndenda, who is actually Bishop Hudson Denda, who is the national chairman of the Church and Clergy Association of Kenya. Gentlemen, karibuni sana.
Okay.
Let me begin from Wakili here. How did you perceive the Apex Court judgment yesterday and the reactions thereafter by Kenyans?
I think the court did what they had to do because, the decisions of the court are based on evidence and the matter before it. So therefore, it was in the wisdom of the court that they ruled in the way they ruled. And more importantly, it is something good as a nation that we have really tried to make strides in terms of our electoral reforms. So I think that forms the basis and the foundation of how subsequent elections should and will be conducted. So therefore, to me, I think there is nothing much that I can say in terms of what happened yesterday at the court, because the evidence was evaluated and that informed the decision of the court.
Lenga, you've seen Kenyans from all walks of life and others actually urging other Kenyans, let's embrace this and move forward. And if you've noticed, there's a lot of traffic today. It's more or less like Kenyans who are seated somewhere and now they have decided to come out of their cocoons.
Yeah, thank you very much, Njue, for hosting me on your show today. And I think following the ruling yesterday, it's imperative for us to put into question the maturity that Kenyans have exhibited throughout the voting period, waiting for the results and then waiting for the ruling of the court. It shows some level of maturity and trust in our systems because many Kenyans trusted that once the verdict of the Supreme Court will be given, they were ready to embrace it. And as we see from the resumption of activities, as you have rightly pointed, it shows that Kenyans have faith in the courts, and what was adjudicated yesterday and given as a verdict is something that Kenyans have embraced, and they're ready to move forward and build the country.
Bishop Hudson,
yes.
The day before yesterday, that was on Sunday, we saw a section of the clergy talking about Kenyans, kindly let's uphold the rule of law, let's observe peace, let's accept the court verdict. And indeed, they did exactly that. And we're also expecting a presser from Ufungamano House, where they are expected to be holding, the clergy is expected to be holding a presser in regards to the presidential election, the petition itself, and how Kenyans have embraced that as we move forward. I would like to hear your sentiments in regards to how you perceived it and how Kenyans have actually, they've decided, yes, indeed, let's now forge forward.
Yeah, thank you so much. First, I really want to congratulate the president-elect, Dr. William Ruto, for his election, and want to assure him that the Church and Clergy Association of Kenya will support you, will pray for you, and stand with you in your endeavors to rule this nation. Mm-hmm. Coming to what you have asked, I feel our democracy has really matured, and Kenyans are coming of age, and they are, as my colleagues say, they are beginning to believe in institutions, and also it shows that Kenyans want to move on. We have wasted a lot of time in this country. COVID has affected us. We have had several issues affecting our economy. So it shows that Kenyans want to get back to work. And for me, peace has won. Nobody lost the election and nobody won the election. Peace has won, because when we see the peace across the country, I think everybody was praying for peace. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And talking of peace, let's now cross over to Kibera. There is missions across Nairobi and Kenya during a campaign, Shining Hope for Communities in Kibera. School for girls. There's an event there, and it's quite tied to what we are discussing today. Let's first of all cross over and listen in for a couple of minutes before we come back to our live discussion.
My name is Kero Dede. I came from Kibera here. Down there is where I used to be my family. And it's the grace of God that this thing called Shofco was started by just a soccer ball. Mpira tu hivi. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to write proposals. I didn't know how to look for funding. But I had a dream that if we come together as a community, we can solve our own problems. So right now, Shofco is nationally. We also worked in Kisumu, which I'm proud of them. What Kisumu, they say that they want peace. They want to restore their property. They want to think about their lives. right? So we're also in Eldoret, we are also in Mombasa, is now national with over 2 million members, you know what I mean, of San community. And my dream was not to be political, but how can we bring the power of the people on the ground, you know what I mean, to take charge, to make people be accountable, and to start seeing growth that starts from the bottom of the pyramid. That's our dream, and peace is important. So thank you so much, and I hope we'll continue to keep our peace and look for programs that can live the lives of our children and our families. Kweli?
Yes.
Na Mungu abariki sana nyinyi wote. Thank you. Sawa.
Those are members of the Shining Hope for Communities Urban Network. They are the Kibera School for Girls, where they are just giving thanks to the community, and especially in Kibera, for maintaining peace during and after the general election, and more specifically after the petition yesterday. Even civil society is coming out to thank Kenyans, politicians from all walks of life, talking about let's now manage our expectations in regards to the government that we are expecting to be sworn in next week. I would like to sample some of your sentiments in regards to that. Manga.
I think it is something very, very important. I remember there is something that Reverend Oginde said, that justice leads to everlasting peace. So where there in the absence of justice, there can never be a lasting peace. So therefore, from where I sit, I think it is very, very important and critical that we maintain peace. And as we endeavor, because either way, where in elections, there are always those who win and there is those who lose. And in this regard, I think no one has lost. I think the nation has won. And therefore, it has become absolutely important that we try to ensure that we use our diversity as a source of our unity so that we can build a prosperous nation.
Indeed. And Alenga, still picking up on what Omanga has talked about, is that in an election, there has to be winners and losers. And unfortunately, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga lost, and he went to the Apex Court for the 4th time in a row to challenge that. And the Apex Court said that, yes, indeed, the election were carried out in a free, fair, and credible manner, albeit some challenges, which I'm quite sure that the Apex Court will be pointing out in their comprehensive judgment, that will be forming basis of us making our elections better. Yes, some may argue that indeed we have lost, but democracy has won. Looking at how he has done for the 4 years, there are some election laws and there are some laws that we have twerked just because of these petitions that have been brought in court. We are seeing where we are vulnerable, we may correct. Where we should add, we add. Where we should subtract, we subtract. Alenga.
I think fundamentally, the direction we're going as a country is amazing. And I think even for our neighboring countries, they have something to learn, they have something to write home about. You saw in the Supreme Court, there was a delegation of former high-ranking judiciary officials from our neighboring countries and even the Southern Africa. They came to observe how it is that we do our thing. And I totally believe what they saw is something they can actually recommend to other nations to be able to handle electoral issues in that particular manner. Because the moment you subject yourself to the law and you're a stickler to it, then you create no rooms for other side shows and perhaps extra constitutional steps that people might take in their means to demonstrate what they strongly feel. What is fundamental to discuss is also the state of our democracy. If you look at the quietude that is being exhibited in the country after the elections and after the Supreme Court question, we need to actually interrogate this silence as thinkers, as political analysts, as policy people, and as religious leaders, and ask ourselves, is this silence a silence of satisfaction, or is it a silence of giving up of a society where we have come to a level where we think our elections are not really meaningful, and therefore whoever wins, wins, whoever loses, loses, and we move on. If that is the form of silence that we have, then it is really questionable, and it spells doom for the future, because when people suppress their emotions and try to act normal, with time, there reaches a time where their tensile strain gets to the limit and they burst out. So we must also interrogate that kind of silence, and then also do a clinical check on our democracy. Does it still make meaning? Does the election still make sense? Remember, we had about 22 million Kenyans who registered to vote, and only 14 million turned out to vote. A whole 8 million sat home and said they have nothing to do with that election. So progressively, if we can now look at maybe have a projection of 2027, how many Kenyans are going to turn out to vote? So are we going into a dispensation where our electoral system will be ceremonious and cosmetic, where citizens don't see any value for it? If that is it, then we must stand up and try to recultivate our democracy, because it is one that we got through stress and strain. It never came just like that. So we have a space to protect, we have a heritage to defend, and we have a journey to secure, because where we are, I really question the kind of silence that is in the country. And if that were it, then the new government that is coming in then has a very cardinal responsibility to bring the country together, to speak hope to even those who lost, because we are all Kenyans, we all pay taxes, and we are entitled to whatever comes from this country. So I think for President William Ruto, the task ahead is quite gigantic, and the good thing is that it is spelled out how it's going to be.
Bishop Denda, and picking from where Alenga has brought about a very interesting point, and indeed the president-elect yesterday in his first speech talked about extending an olive branch to all those who they were in the ballot with, and bringing Kenyans together. But he was quick to note that there's not going to be a handshake that he said that like it has always been. It's one of the most democratic things that a president can say. Yes, indeed, we are working together, but everyone has to have his position. And he talked about a robust and an opposition that will hold them accountable.
Yes, I was at Karen when he was speaking those words.
Okay.
I want Kenyans to know this. The winner is not always the one you supported or the one you wanted, but the one the majority have said is the winner. So we must come to a place where we accept that it is Dr. William Ruto who has won this election, because that will help us to move on. And coming to what you said about what he said about he doesn't expect a handshake and he doesn't believe in a handshake, we will come back and look at the handshake government. There are good things that came from that government, but because of lack of opposition, there was a lot of corruption that was unchecked because there was no opposition. So on that note, then I want to agree with the president-elect that we need to have a strong opposition in the country that will put the government of the day in checks and balances, so that they can remind them, you promised to do ABCD, you have not done it. And when there is a wrong in that government, they can point out, and especially that area of corruption. I really want to accept that the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and even during the period of handshake, they have done a lot. We have seen roads and all that, but equally we have lost a lot of money. But there was nobody to point out to it because there was no opposition. So on that, I want to agree with him on that point.
And yesterday, Wakili, President-elect William Ruto was not the only winner, as in regards to what the court said. IEBC was another winner. And looking at the issues that have dogged IEBC since the days of Chesoni and Kivui to Isaac Hassan, for the first time, we've had the court declare that indeed the IEBC did exactly what they were supposed to do. Yes, indeed, they do acknowledge there were some challenges here and there, but that vindication just strengthens the confidence in Kenyans in the electoral process?
I think it was something very important for the court to mention, because you remember the issues of technology and the processes that are involved emanated from the Apex Court, equally from in the 2017 election petition. So the court indeed indicted the IEBC to ensure that the election is conducted in a manner that really conforms with the dictates of the Constitution and the electoral laws. Therefore, because there are a lot of issues there about the chairperson not really working as a team, was a lone ranger, and then there was the questions of the forms, the technology. But I think that vindication is something that is important, because now at least it tries to inspire confidence of the public in the workings of the commission. And then at least also when we talk about what Alenga was saying about the silence, we must also actually go back to the drawing board and try to ensure that whatever the absence of the silence, the absence of the violence, what does it really portend? Because therefore, it could mean that maybe there is that element of frustrations and dejection. So if at all the silence can actually be equated to a level of dejection from the general populace, then I think it is incumbent upon the government and all other relevant institutions to ensure that we really, this democracy of ours that is continuously growing in leaps and bounds, we really nurture it, and we ensure that any constructive engagement as regards to election is something that is actually involves and inspires the confidence of the people. But at least I want to mention something about the politics of handshake. You know, handshake sometimes, according to what I think, it also kills democracy to some extent. What do I mean? What I mean is that because we know what is the role of the opposition, and when we have a government that do not really have any checks, or there are those people who actually try to interrogate and question certain processes that are not really going right in the country, then therefore the democracy loses its meaning. So I think there should be handshake in terms of ensuring we were in a political context, but now the will of the people have superseded. But not to that, let us come and work together. We can borrow a leaf, and I've always said that all these politicians and all these political formations had an intention, a very good intention, to take our country forward. Therefore, what the government in power should do is actually try to borrow what did the other side thought about in terms of infrastructure, what do they thinking in terms of security, what were they thinking in terms of education, so that they can try to actually clothe it and make whatever the plans they had better.
And Alenga, looking at what the president talked about yesterday, he had us about 10 minutes to address the nation in regards to the election. He thanked Kenyans for, of course, upholding the rule of law and ensuring that the elections were peaceful. But he did not congratulate his deputy, who is now the president-elect. And more so, he did, of course, express his opinion as a president and said that indeed the Apex Court didn't pronounce itself, but we also need to interrogate the institutions that we have that are mandated or given the mandate by the law to carry out democracy and governance in the country, judiciary being one of them.
I think I actually listened to the sitting president's sentiments yesterday after the Supreme Court ruling, and most important to discuss is the issues he hinted at, or he talked about, where he strongly expressed the point of let's not really focus on numbers to distinguish who won and who lost, but let's have a clear look into the process that brings us these numbers, because the process is as important as the numbers are. And I think he had a very fantastic point to bring across, but the point is he's self-indicted in the same statement. So the people listening to him don't really get his commitment to such statements, because we remember 2013, we remember 2017, we even remember his nomination for president when the ICC case was looming large behind his back, and we also remember the treatment of the judiciary under his reign. There were so many misses, so that it doesn't give him the moral standing to be able to direct a country in the direction they should go. However, they say even the broken clock tells the correct time. So it's very important for us to interrogate those sentiments by the president and ask ourselves, does he know what we don't know? Or maybe from his point of view, did he see what we did not see that we need to look at? And I appreciate what Wakili has said, that our democracy is a growing one. We cannot sit somewhere and claim we have reached the summit of our democracy. We are still building it up. And so there is need to continue bringing in all manner of material that might be essential for building a stronger premise of democracy going forward. So those are sentiments, and even the sentiments that we've had from Maendeleo ya Wanawake leadership, they have also hinted at the same. They have also given the president-elect a number of things to ponder, to look at, and to see how going forward we can collectively move as one nation. So that is really important. And I just also reiterate the same statements that there is 7-point-something million this side, there is 6.9 million this side. They all form a country. That's what we should commit ourselves to.
I think, Bishop, we could fortify it from where Alenga has talked about. And one of the entrees in President-elect William Ruto's entree will be, let's say, because of the politics that divide the nation. The chairperson of Maendeleo ya Wanawake has noted there that 6.9 million Kenyans did not vote for president-elect, and Alenga noted that about 8 million Kenyans didn't even bother themselves to go to the ballot. That just underscores how we need to, if we are to go ahead and forge this nation in a manner that we want and better it from where it is, then we have to have some reconciliation. And looking from what the president, the outgoing president, and the president, President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday talked about, and he didn't even congratulate his deputy, then it underscores how we need, first of all, to try and come together. Yes, the president actually talked about extending an olive branch yesterday.
Yes, if I remember, the president-elect alluded to that. He said he will be president of all.
Yeah, actually, he noted that they have not even spoken in months.
Yes, he said he has not spoken to the president for months, and he said he's going to call him, and he's going to call all the rest that they contested against each other. But he said he's going to be the president of everybody. And if you remember also, he said something that was very important. You know, as a church, there are things we listen to. He said he's not going to be vengeful. He has nothing to revenge against anybody. That was a very good statement. And he said he's going to respect the outgoing president and also our former leaders in terms of, I think, the former vice presidents. And he said he's going to honor, including their packages that they receive. For me, that was very good. And he also said he's inviting the ones that they contested with, and particularly Raila Odinga, so that they can brainstorm and see how best the country goes forward. And although he said it like jokingly, but it was very important, because he said so that he can tell him how he intends to be at opposition, and how he intends to do some checkups on him. So on that, I think the president-elect has scored very well, because I listened to him. He said he's going to be the president of everybody, including those who never voted for him. I think that is a call for unity, but there is much more. You know, actions speaks louder. So we will be waiting to see whether exactly what he said is what he's going to do. Yeah, that is another thing. I can't say exactly what he said he's going to do, so we will wait until we see the actions.
Yes, and we are hoping that at least we will have the bridges crossed before we start a new regime.
Yes.
And Wakili, looking at what we saw in the Apex Court, we have a lot of international media, and the international community was keenly watching, just to underscore the kind of jurisprudence that our nation has grown into. And we are carving our name in so many history books in terms of how we are conducting ourselves in matters electoral and actually in sorting out election petitions in this country.
I think that is something to borrow. And actually, our constitution is rated among the progressive ones in the entire world. And therefore, what springs from that is that there is various electoral issues that actually the development in terms of what we have actually emanated from those court decisions. And more importantly, we've seen in various African nations the way they solve their electoral disputes. And therefore, it became something of interest to the international community and mainly our neighbors. Remember, there was a lot of things coming from the social media, how Ugandans were wondering, how are we doing our elections? So they were concerned how best they can also borrow that. So I think it is something that of interest that we actually pride ourselves in how we solve our electoral dispute. We've seen violence, we have also been there one time. Therefore, how best we move forward is something that is actually becoming a point to buy from other people, other nations. So what our Supreme Court has done, and actually our entire judiciary has come of age, and actually the way we resolve our dispute is something that is of interest to the other nations. So that is why actually there was a lot of interest. Actually, there were those international committee of eminent persons actually sending a delegation here to actually try and monitor and borrow a leaf from how best all these things work, where we go wrong, and how best it can be improved. So to me, I think I can pride myself that actually we are moving towards the right direction. We really just need to ensure that we interrogate every process so that actually we don't miss anything that could really make us much better.
And Alenga, I would like you to also weigh in on that, because it spells out a lot when it comes to our foreign policy. And you do remember that back in 2013, comparing 2013 and this year, 2022, we have moved a long way in making our foreign policy quite robust. And I'm saying this because you do remember before the 2013 election, there were choices have consequences. The international community were keeping a hawk eye, as opposed to now where they are looking at us keenly as equals, just because of how we've been able to conduct ourselves in those 4 presidential petitions in 10 years.
Joe, it's imperative for us to understand that nations will treat you the way you treat yourself primarily. Nations will regard you the way you run your processes. And this time around, and progressively, Kenya has demonstrated that we are at a place where the international community has something to admire from us. Many nations, when they go into elections in the African continent, it's usually a moment of do or die, and international media comes in batteries, and they always know that they're going to carry home stories of violence, stories of rape for women, stories of bloodbath and all that. But when they come to Kenya, they unfortunately or fortunately, depending on which perspective, they just have to enjoy our sunshine and our beaches and then go back home without a screaming headline for our country on fire, for that matter. So we have distinguished ourselves as a mature people, and if we try to bring that dividend back home, I think it's very important for our politicians to now emulate the way Kenyans have conducted themselves. Our political class is still lagging there. We see them have squabbles among themselves. We see, you remember the dramatic moment you will see in Parliament, people hurling water bottles and tearing papers and all that. But then the citizenry has demonstrated that there's some safer way mature way, civilized way of, going through moments of grief, as it were, for those who have lost, and moments of celebration for those who have won. We have conducted ourselves in a manner that is unprecedented, in a manner that is admirable, and I just pray that we keep here. If there is any Kenyan watching outside there, this is how we want 2027 to look like. This is how we want 2032 to look like and going forward, so that we don't reach any point in time when we claw back the gains we have demonstrated to the entire world. So it's really a moment to celebrate country. It's really a moment to celebrate Kenya. And it's that moment to feel proud being Kenyan.
And talking of celebrations, Bishop, we do celebrate democracy actually since what we saw at the Apex Court yesterday. And talking about democracy, the new president-elect was quick to note that the criminal justice system will not be used to further a political or to settle political scores. And another thing he talked about is he said he would like agencies to be quite independent. Talking about the judiciary, he was quite non-committal on what he's going to do in 100 days until he's swearing in. But he did mention some of the things that are going to be forming basis of his leadership, talking about the operationalization of the judiciary fund and ensuring these agencies that are mandated to further our democracy are independent. That is something that we've not had in a while.
Yes, he pronounced himself on the independence of judiciary, including even finances. They will have their own finances and control, and also police. I really followed him. And that is very good. I think if he does that, he will have a big score. And he will win the hearts of Kenyans more, because Kenyans want to walk to a judiciary where they're sure when I walk there, I will get justice. And they're not twisted and all that. And also in terms of police doing investigations, when they are truly independent, they can do a good job, as opposed to when they will need resources to do a certain investigation. And probably the national government doesn't release that. It compromises on everything. And on the issue on how, yes, the question was put to him on what will he achieve in 100 days, and he was non-committal. Actually, he said we wait for that day of inauguration, he will speak about it. But he said something. He said, one, he's immediately going to work on the cost of living. And that is very good. The cost of living and also fertilizer to help the farmers produce food. I think that is very important. We would expect the president-elect, when both of them got to government together with President Uhuru Kenyatta, flour was at 90. We want to see that coming down to that. Yes, we know the fuel challenge is global.
And the drought as well.
Yes, and drought and all that. The fuel challenge is global, but we also expect him to do something on that, because once you control that, then you will control the cost of living. And for me, when I heard about lowering the cost of living, then I knew he's connecting with Kenyans. He feels what they're going through. He knows the challenges that Kenyans are going through. We expect to see that immediately he gets to office.
Yeah, perhaps we can build up with what Bishop has talked about in terms of the 100 days. He did not really complete, but he did touch on some of the things that he is going to be looking at. And being an officer of the court, I'm quite sure the issue of the operationalization of the judiciary fund, which has not been even operationalized since we promulgated the constitution, and it was one of the things that was supposed to happen after we passed the new constitution. Manga.
I think the president-elect actually indeed made a lot of pledges during the campaigns, and actually mentioned about the issue of food cost of living, fuel, and the issue of small and medium enterprises fund that would be operationalized actually to help those in such business to grow. But you see now when the reality dawns, because there is a lot of factors to be considered, because the issues of fuel, the issues of fertilizer, those factors of production, when talked in terms of the entirety. I think the most important thing, the last port of call that actually indeed helps Kenyans is the judiciary. When we have a functional and independent judiciary, then everything else falls on the side. Because when there is injustice, whether there is bad laws coming from the parliament, whether there is excesses of the executive, where the population gets solace is in the judiciary. Because whatever thing that happens from the executive to the legislature, they can never escape judicial scrutiny. Therefore, I think in terms of operationalization of the judiciary fund and ensuring full and complete independence of the judiciary, and ensuring that what the cases that the judges handle, when there is sustainably facilitated, I think even the time that cases take in court to complete actually would be substantially reduced. Therefore, I think ours is to wish the president well, and we give him the necessary support, and actually to help him also build and strengthen the institutions of governance. Indeed, he pledged the reforms in the police force, where he said that police will be well remunerated, and actually it is something that is of concern, because since the late retired President Kibaki, the police has never had any salary increment, and we saw for the first time police trying to move to court so that at least they get justice. So I think in that regard, ours is just to wish the president well, and actually to the country, the population, to give them the necessary support, and also to put them to account of all these pledges that they made to Kenyans. They actually try and endeavor to ensure they are realized.
Yes, and Alenga, it's going to be an interesting 100 days in office, and that is why exactly he said that he is putting his house in order, so that in the next 100 days after he is swearing in, he will be talking about the first 100 days. But indeed, there are quite pressing issues in the country, and to borrow from Deputy President-elect Rigathi Gachagua's speech yesterday, he said we are inheriting a battered economy, we are inheriting a country that is a little bit not the way it should be, and we are up to the task to ensure that Kenyans celebrate the country that we are in. 100 days. Alenga.
I think lots of what awaits President-elect Dr. William Ruto is a very huge task to restore an economy, to bring the country together and build on cohesion and togetherness as a nation. There is also the aspect of, trying to nurture our democracy to the next level, and it all falls on his hands. And so I think maybe to make matters easy for him, the first 100 days, the president-elect should focus on the cost of living. That is one of the things that are really, really ailing Kenyans, and that is what goes directly to the hands of a Kenyan, And if he works on that, then he will have built a commitment that actually going forward, he's going to implement on all those other things. And as the good Bishop Ndeda said earlier on, that one of the things that endeared President-elect William Ruto to many Kenyans is the fact that he spoke to the plight of high cost of living, which resonated with so many Kenyans. And if that's the point, then he should first and foremost confront that. Once he confronts that, then he builds a willingness within the population that, yes, indeed, this man is going to take us on a good journey. And again, that would be, I think that would be the incentive for the other divide to actually believe in his leadership. So in a nutshell, we say right now, as Dr. William Ruto is going into office, there are people who are scared of his reign. They don't know what it portends. And there are those who have confidence in his reign, and they are waiting with bated breath. So to these two people, to those that fear his reign, may he disapprove them by turning out to be the best president they ever wished. For those who have trust in him already, may he confirm their trust that indeed you made the right decision.
Bishop Nenda, and yesterday in one of the firm things that the president-elect talked about, he said that the era of politics of deceit is now over. Of course, he was sending a message to politicians as well when it comes to his government. He said everybody will be accountable and they will ensure that the opposition is checking up on them. And just underscores how Kenya is a politically charged country. After this election, you will see a couple of months, then you will see some formation starting to build up. And unfortunately, that of course derails development, and just 1 or 2 years before election, the country will be in an election mood, which is of course not what we want. And the president-elect want to change that in his speech yesterday.
Yes, what you are speaking is very important. You know, politicians in this country are very selfish. Most of them are very selfish. And I can assure you from where I'm seated, I expect challenges. Even if it were the Right Honorable Raila Odinga who won, I expected challenges. And these are my reasons. If you look at both the coalitions, they have come in many parties together. And going by the fact that politicians are selfish, when some of them will not get what they wanted and what they expected, indeed you'll begin to see challenges. Because how you divide 22 cabinet slots to 20 parties, it is an issue. And you know, most of them don't want to be ambassadors. They want to be somewhere where they can make noise for the next 5 years. So if you don't slot them with that 22, it's like you did honor them. You did do it. So those are the challenges we expect. But we want to call on politicians to put the country first than their selfish interest. We want to give the president-elect a chance to prove himself, a chance to fulfill his pledges. And I want to put it to them, even if they were them, they wouldn't do what they would expect from him. I think we want to own the government. All of us, Kenyans, want to own the government and feel that this is our government, whether I'm in government or not, whatever position I hold in the society. I just want a government that will deliver services, because when services are delivered, I can work for myself and better my life and all that. So politicians, kindly, we know you and we know what you are capable of doing. Kindly spare us and allow this nation to move on. Because I'm speaking because I know they will come.
Yes, and talking of politics, Bishop Omanga, I would like us to the next couple of minutes, talk about politics now in regards to the pronouncement yesterday. As soon as President-elect was declared the winner by IEBC, he dangled some political carrots for some parties, and he has been able to woo some MPs on his side, which now tips the scales in his favor at both at the Senate and at the National Assembly. Some people, of course, including Azimio, have talked about, man, this is below the belt, man. Why are you doing this? And we have the numbers, the 3 months that these coalitions are supposed to at least be solid are not over yet. This is quite a strategy, Omanga.
I think it is a very, very important strategy. And coming from the caliber of a politician, William Samoei Ruto, is always a very strategic politician. Remember, during that period where there was an expectation that there could be a runoff. So basically, I think maybe why he took that step is also to ensure that he consolidates enough support so that in any event that the court were to decide otherwise, that people are going for a rerun, then actually he had enough troops even in areas where he did it. And more importantly, again, is the fact that when you are running a government, you must also ensure that you have enough support both in the National Assembly and the Senate. The reason being certain processes, certain policies must have that backing of the law. And the law is made in Parliament. So if you do not really have enough soldiers on your side, then basically maybe there are certain things that you might try to push through the agenda in the parliament or the Senate that could not really see the light of the day. And that notwithstanding, you remember there is the issue of election of the speaker of both houses. So that one also calls for numbers. So you can see the kind and the nature of a politician that Dr. William Samuel Ruto is. He's someone that actually tried to plan ahead. So it is not that he's trying to dangle carrots or what, but he's trying to use the element of persuasion, political persuasion, as a tool to ensure that actually he gets enough people on his side, as many as possible. Because for you to have peace, you remember the issue during when we have the issue of tyranny of numbers in the 2013 and the subsequent election. It is something that you really have to get enough support both in the houses of parliament to ensure that you push your agenda. Otherwise, if you are to push up a certain agenda of the mamambogas and the borders, and then you don't really have enough people in parliament to actually legislate on that, because these things must be legislated. So I think in terms of politics, I think that's a very good strategy, and hongera kwake.
Lenga, do you hold the same sentiments in regards to marshalling the troops? Omanga says that even in war, if you have a big army, then indeed you are bound to success.
I may want to shift a little bit from Wakile's point of view and look at these things from a very ultra-political perspective. And if you contextualize the whole thing, you realize that coming in, the quest for Dr. William Ruto into the presidency has not been an easy one. There has been a lot of issues on the road, and eventually he has managed to get there. So it goes without saying that such a man will want to get to manufacture his own cushioning and his own security to make sure that he does not find himself where the late Mwai Kibaki found himself after the 2007 election, where the ODM party had the majority in parliament and really nothing could move. But again, it shifts us back to around 2013, where there was the issue of tyranny of numbers. And on record, that is a time most of the bad laws were passed in this country, including the review of the Public Order Act, the Security Amendment rules, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act, and even the election amendment rules that were amended actually just a few days into the election. So during that time, everything would carry the day as long as the whip says this is the direction we're going. So it scares us when we imagine we want to get back to such a moment. So from that point of, from that perspective, then you try to ask yourself, what does the future, what does this portend for the future? And also, if you also interrogate that this is a man who vehemently opposed this constitution in 2005, and then now he's becoming the custodian of that constitution, and then wields majority in both houses, then what do we expect? Do we expect a rewriting of that constitution? Because laws are made in parliament, they are ratified in the Senate, they are sent by the president. So if that path is looking like it's going to favor him, then it a little bit scares us, and we pray the heavens that that doesn't happen. However, we must also pay cognizance to the fact that Dr. William Ruto, in the Greek philosophy, he finds himself in what we would call he's between the Charybdis and the Scylla, because once he has to protect himself from what will eminently be constant attacks from a very strong opposition, because you see the numbers before him reaching out to the other independent candidates and independent MPs in the houses, the difference is very little, is very slim. So you'd expect a heated parliament, and then government positions most of the time will face assault from the opposition. And as it were, he has actually distinguished very clearly, and I really appreciate that he's not going to strike handshakes with the opposition. He's going to let the opposition do its work. So while doing that, then he must also take care of his backyard.
Okay, 1 minute each as we wind up on how we expect everything to turn out. Of course, tomorrow we will be having a discussion on what will be transpiring in Parliament on Thursday. But I would like to sample your last comments, Bishop.
Yes, I want to appeal to Kenyans to continue maintaining peace, because peace is very important. Even those whom their candidates didn't pull through, you would still want peace if you had your candidate through. So peace has won, and let peace continue, so that in that atmosphere of peace, then we can realize services and development for our country.
Indeed. 1 minute as we wind up, Manga.
I think it is important that those who have managed to get positions of power to come together and realize that the responsibility bestowed upon them is that of service delivery, service delivery, service delivery. Let us put our political differences aside and ensure that we correct what is wrong, so that we move forward and ensure that the people of Kenya would not lose hope in the voting, and ensure that their votes has a lot of meaning in terms of the issue of governance. So mine is just peace, and also wish the president-elect the best of luck in his endeavor to...
Gentlemen, thank you so much indeed for your time and your insight. Charles Umanga, who is an advocate of the High Court and also a political analyst. We also had Todd Sten Alenga, who is a political analyst, and we had Bishop Hudson Ndeda, who is the church and clergy chairman, national chairman. And thank you so much for your insight. Indeed, we have been talking about trying to look at the state of the nation in regards to what transpired yesterday. We had the Apex Court affirming President-elect William Ruto's win. We also had President Uhuru Kenyatta, who made his maiden speech since we went to the ballot on 9th of August. And we also had IEBC. After the vindication by the court, they had a presser, talked about a lot of issues that actually made a lot of interest and a lot of sense when it comes to electoral matters. Indeed, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching. But I'm giving my baton now to Tamrini, who will be having a live conversation in Swahili from 12 to 1. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Bentro Njuelensa Odingo is our sign language interpreter for this live broadcast. Do have yourself a blessed still morning, 3 minutes to midday.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Life cannot always be too serious.
Yeah, man, what's up, yeah?
Hello? We've got to take some time off and laugh, and laugh. And we tickle you down with lots of laughter.
That's why I'm saying I'm who is who. Huh?
With satire like no other.
Tell him to bring it on.
How do you find your grandmother? How much do you love her? Come on, you have to trust me.
What's going on, Madam Warden? Please tell me, am I being set free now?
I want to talk to her and hear from her what happened on the day my father died.
But who really are you, Mother?
The unfaithful woman who left me to run off with another man like what my dad had said?
Don't start jumping to conclusions.
Oh, but why not? Huh?
No, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back.
Zambia va transporter. Les PDG This is the way we're going to invade your sitting rooms once every week. Allah.
And this is what we need. The originals. Lipua Lipua. Veve Productions. Orchestra Kiam. And so much more.
Merindimo ya ngoma za rumba kutoka pembe zote za Afrika zilizopepea, zinazopepewa kwa kiasi ambacho hutang'atuka ng'o from your sitting room.
Wow. Buzi Buziana, Scholar Miel, Betty Beast, Fifi Mofude, among others.
Bridge over Congo with Simeon Mfumu Kimbangu.
And Winnie Marie-Jose on KBC Channel 1.
Zambia Sambela Kate, Ako Sambela Nani.
God does not worship. To whom will he worship?
Honorable Kajosuma.
He's lived a tragic life. All these years, he's always been on his own.
Let's pretend this never happened. But even though I fixed her eyes, she can't handle brightness.
Master, I'm finally back to see you. So, you know, all these years without my blood, why hasn't his body even changed a bit?
I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to have a happy life.
Umeliona gazeti la leo?
This is still disturbing.
Hivi ndio wenzako washapatana basi.
Huyo anatuita iko.
Ngoja lifunguke. Kwani yuanza yeye kupenda? Atakuachaje siku zote hizo aje akurudie sasa? Yaani hapo hushiki mita.
Nimekupigania sana Leo. Tumepitia mambo mengi sana mimi na wewe. Babangu mimi nitamwambia nini?
Na usijaribu kunidanganya. Usijaribu kunidanganya kwa sababu faili niliziona.
Bringing the clock and the gun to come and shut the youth them heart. There's a red. When you all look down on a tea-bread. I hear an ex you dead. Whoa. Chatty, Montamasi, mix up. Why you not leave people business? I settle down people business. Good God, I tell you about it. I don't need another lover. I don't even have to bother. I found it in you. Now I feel brand new.
It's been a long time. Without no vibe like this, play the music again. Yeah, reggae music again. It's been
You bring so much joy to my world. Baby, tell me, baby, my favorite boy.
Karibuni sana to the Second Chance TV game show.
Tough questions.
Virunga National Park is located within which mountain ranges? Aberdare. Aberdare? That's your final answer?
Tough challenges.
Dona teammate yako kweli. 3, 2, 1.
It's a survival for the smartest.
10 seconds to go. Who is the current president of Malawi?
The correct president.
Wrong answer. That is the wrong answer. Does it border to the east? Nakuru County. Nakuru County, you get 2,000 bob.
Premiering soon on Channel 1.
Matumaini yangu hujambo popote ulipo unapotazama KBC Channel 1. Shukrani sana kwa kutenga muda wako kujiunga nasi. Karibu kwenye awamu ya pili ya mazungumzo haya ambapo hii leo tuko kwenye tamrini kuanzia hivi sasa hadi hapo mwendo wa saa 7 ambapo tutakuwa tunaangazia mambo mengi tu ikiwemo Kenya kwenda mbele baada ya siasa ama baada ya uchaguzi. Mimi ni Zainab Said ikiwa hapa kwa niaba yake Nancy Okware. Kwa muda wa takriban dakika 45 hivi tutakuwa tunajadili mambo mengi tu kwenye kipindi hiki cha tamrini. Na kumbuka wewe pia mtazamaji hapo nyumbani unaweza kuchangia. Ni vipi? Unaweza kuchangia kupitia mitandao yetu ya kijamii Facebook, Twitter na YouTube @KBC Channel 1 @Zainab1. Atakuwa ni wenye kusoma jumbe zako na pia tu kuweza kufahamu wewe unatazama KBC hii leo ukiwa eneo lipi. Moja kwa moja tuangazie mambo ambayo tuko nayo humu ndani hii leo, ikiwa hii leo tunaangazia Kenya baada ya uchaguzi ama Kenya baada ya kukamilika kwa siasa, tukisubiria kwamba kumbuka siku ya Jumanne wiki ijayo tutakuwa tunamwapisha rais ambaye ni mteule Daktari William Ruto, atakuwa anapewa hatamu za uongozi. Ni mambo tu ambayo tutakuwa tunajadili hapa ndani, na humu ndani ya studio siko peke yangu kutusaidia tu kuelewa hili ama kusonga mbele ama kuchanganua mawili matatu kuhusiana na swala hilo. Studioni tuko naye Salim Mohamed ambaye ni mwenyekiti wa bodi ya uchaguzi katika chama cha ANC ambacho ni chama ambacho kiko chini ya muungano wa Kenya Kwanza, na pia ni mchanganuzi wa siasa. Bwana Salim, shukrani sana kwa kutenga muda wako kuja kuzungumza nasi hapa.
Asante sana Zainab, nashukuru kwa hapa na nafurahi pia kwa tuko hapa pamoja leo tukizungumza. Asante.
Moja kwa moja tuangazie siasa zimekamilika, wiki ijayo itakuwa inakamilika kabisa na serikali mpya inaingia uongozini, lakini bado kuna wale ambao waliokuwa katika wafuasi wa Azimio la Umoja na kuna wale ambao wa Kenya Kwanza, ambapo natumai kwamba wote kote nchini sasa hivi walipo watakuwa wanasherekea. Je, wewe unahisi ama unaona ili kuhakikisha kwamba Wakenya hao wote wanahisi kwamba ni wamoja, hawatohisi kwamba kiongozi wetu ameshindwa, ama ni vipi, ni lipi linafaa kufanywa tunaposonga mbele na wadau wote tu ambao wanahusika katika masuala haya ya uongozi wa taifa?
Asante sana Zainab. Mwanzo la kwanza, siasa haimaliziki, kura ndio zimemalizika. Siasa itakuwa na sisi siku zote, kama mnavyojua nchi yetu vile tulivyo. Siasa huwa na sisi siku zote. Kwa hakika tukiangazia swala hilo, jana kama ulisikiliza kwa makini hotuba ya rais mteule Dr. William Samoei Ruto, alisema sasa yeye mwanzo ni rais wa watu wote. Kwa hivyo hawa tulikuwa tukishindana nao, Azimio na wengineo ambao walikuwa pia katika kinyang'anyiro cha urais, wote watakuwa wako chini ya nchi moja. Sote ni nchi moja, kura zimemalizika. Itakuwa sasa ni kusonga mbele kimaisha. Ni yapi ambao tutafuatilia ili tujue sote tuko katika nchi moja. La kwanza ni kuwa kama rais mteule alivyosema, ni kuwa sasa kazi imeanza. Zile ahadi alizozitoa anataka kufanya zitimizwe, na kama nchi na kama wananchi sisi tutakaniwa tuhakikishe wale ambao tulikuwa kwa Kenya Kwanza tulompigia rais Dr. William Ruto kura na wale ambao hawakumpigia, ni kuhakikisha kwa kuwa zile ahadi zimetimizwa na serikali inaenda mbele. Hususan tayari jana alizungumzia masuala kwa watu tayari wanamtumia message kumuuliza Hustler Fund itaanza lini, na wale wakulima kwa upande ule mwingine tayari washaanza kuuliza, na hivyo ndio tutakavyoendesha nchi yetu tukaipeleka mbele. Na kuhakikisha hilo ni sote kujumuishwa. Na tutajumuishwa vipi? Ni vile alivyosema, kwa kuwa yeye ni rais wa watu wote, ni maendeleo yatapatikana na huduma zitapatikana kwa sehemu zote za Kenya, hata zile ambazo hazikumpigia kura, kwa sababu huo ndio mambo ambavyo yalivyo katika katiba, na uwajibikaji wake unatokana na kuwa lazima atii katiba yetu ya Kenya ambayo haitobagua mtu yoyote katika kupata huduma na kupata maendeleo katika nchi yetu ya Kenya.
Naam, lazima atii katiba na pia kuhakikisha kwamba Wakenya wote wanapata maendeleo na hakuna yule ambaye anahisi ametengwa.
Kabisa.
Turejelee hapo jana baada ya kutangazwa uamuzi ule wa mahakama ya juu, tulishuhudia utulivu na kulikuwa na shamra katika maeneo mengi tu ya taifa na pia kando pengine na pale nyuma. Jana maeneo mengi tu yalikuwa yanaendelea na biashara, kulikuwa hakuna vurugu. Je, hili linadhihirisha nini? Kukomaa kwa Wakenya ama ni kukomaa kwa demokrasia ama pengine ni kukinai siasa?
Hii linadhihirisha kitu kimoja, kwa kuwa Wakenya wamekomaa na safari hii wamekataa kutumiwa kama awali, kwa sababu wameona miaka 2013 na 2017 kulipatikana hasara kubwa. Ilipatikana sio ya kibiashara tu peke yake, lakini muhimu zaidi ilipatikana hasara ya kimaisha, watu kupoteza maisha. Na ukitizama mwisho wa kuwa au mwisho wa siku kama wanavyosema at the end of the day, ni kuwa ni mtu binafsi ndio anayedhurika, ni raia yule wa chini ndiye anayedhurika. Kwa hivyo ikiwa tulikwenda kwenye kura, kukatoka uamuzi, watu wakapiga kura, wakatoa uamuzi wao, wale ambao hawakuridhika wakaenda mahakama ya upeo, ambako pia ni part ya sheria zetu na watu ninio, na mahakama kuu jana iliamua, na ulikuwa ni uamuzi mzuri sana. Ukiusoma au kama uliusikiliza kwa makini, ulikuwa ni uamuzi wa busara, na lililobakia sasa ni sisi kuendelea mbele na maisha na kuhakikisha kwa kuwa serikali itafanya kazi. Naam.
Kweli ni masuala tu ambayo tunazidi kuzungumzia hapa ndani, mtazamaji, lakini kumbuka kuna ile kamati ambayo ilikuwa imeteuliwa ya kuhakikisha kwamba kuna kuwepo ule kukabidhiwa kwa madaraka ama kukabidhiwa kwa urais katika njia iliyo shwari kabisa. Kwa hivyo kamati hiyo leo itakuwa inazungumza na wanahabari kuelezea tu matayarisho yako vipi. Kumbuka mteule anatarajiwa kuapishwa wiki ijayo. Kwa hivyo kulikuwa na kamati hiyo ambayo kando na mambo mengi tu hakikisha kwamba inatarajiwa kuhakikisha kwamba hatamu hizo za uongozi zinapeanwa kwa yule rais ambaye atakuwa anaingia uongozini kutoka kwa rais ambaye yuko uongozini kwa hivi sasa. Kwa hivyo kamati hiyo ni baadhi tu ya majukumu ambayo imekuwa ikitekeleza na kuhakikisha kwamba sherehe hiyo ya kuapishwa inaenda katika njia iliyo shwari kabisa. Kwa hivyo ni kamati ambayo imekuwa ikiandaa mikutano, misururu ya mikutano tu, na katika hivi sasa inatarajiwa kutoa habari yake. Hebu tusikize mtazamaji.
A smooth transition to the incoming administration as announced yesterday. I'm pleased to notify the nation that I have this morning chaired a meeting of the assumption of the office of the President Committee. The meeting was preceded by the decision of our nation's apex court that upheld the declaration of His Excellency William Ruto as President-elect. We convened this morning to progress on the preparations for the transition from the fourth administration to the fifth administration that have been ongoing from the 12th of August. The peaceful and orderly transition in administrations is hallmark of our democracy and an essential testament of our nation's status as a beacon of stability, democracy, and the rule of law. The mandate bestowed upon the committee is sacred, and the burden of that responsibility is heavy. We are cognizant that we are called upon to exercise this solemn mandate with fidelity to our laws and with the aspirations of our North Star, that is the Kenyan people. Today's meeting featured the representatives of the President-elect, including Mr. Davis Shishu, Honorable Justin Muturi, Honorable Gladys Bose Cholei, and Ms. Veronica Maina. would like to inform the nation that the swearing-in ceremony and inauguration of the new administration will be held in fidelity with Article 141 of the Constitution, being the first Tuesday following yesterday's decision by the Supreme Court upholding the declaration of the EIBC. That date is Tuesday, 13th September 2022, and the ceremonies shall be held at Moi International Stadium, Kasarani. The date of the swearing-in will be a public holiday of general observance throughout the territory of the Republic of Kenya. The formal Gazette notices will be issued later in the week. The process of the swearing-in event and the inauguration ceremony are elaborately set out under both the Constitution and the statute law. The President-elect shall take the oath of office as administered by the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary before Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice. As per the law, this must take place any time between the hours 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Thereafter, the President-elect will also be sworn in. The Deputy President-elect will be sworn in. With the presidential election cycle now behind us, the swearing-in and the inauguration ceremony is an opportunity for the nation to not only witness and usher in our nation's fifth administration, but also to celebrate the strength and vibrancy of our constitutional and democratic processes, which differentiates Kenya from so many other nations in Africa and beyond. For that reason, the eyes of Africa and indeed the rest of the world will be on Kenya on that day. In that regard, all Kenyans are invited to be part of this historic event. To all Kenyans, as the leadership of our government transitions into the fifth administration, we are called upon to join hands and continue with the sacred work of building our nation, Kenya, a nation worthy of the sacrifices of our forefathers during the struggle for independence, and building the very best nation that we can bequeath to our future generations. I thank you, and may God bless our beloved nation, Kenya. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Asanteni. Tumemaliza na hakuna maswali. It is true. Asante.
Na mtazamaji, zimekuwa ni picha za moja kwa moja hizo, ambapo ni kamati hiyo ya mpito ambayo inatarajiwa kuhakikisha kwamba zoezi ama shughuli nzima ya kukabidhiwa madaraka kutoka kwa rais aliye uongozini hivi sasa na rais anayechukua hatamu inakwenda katika njia iliyo shwari kabisa. Imekuwa ni mkuu wa utumishi wa umma ambaye amekuwa akihutubia tu kuhusiana na mipango ambayo inaendelea kufanyika hivi sasa. Kumbuka sherehe hiyo inatarajiwa kufanyika siku ya Jumanne wiki ijayo. Kwa hivyo ni maandalizi ambayo yanazidi kuendelea, na Wakenya tu pia wameweza kuhakikisha kwamba itakuwa ni shughuli ambayo itafanyika katika njia iliyo shwari kabisa, na pia wameweza kualikwa kuelekea katika sherehe hiyo ambayo itakuwa inafanyika wiki ijayo. Kwa hivyo ni picha za moja kwa moja tu ambazo unaziona kwenye runinga yako. Ni kamati hiyo ya mpito ambayo imekuwa ikizungumzia tu kuhusiana na maandalizi na mwelekeo wa sherehe hiyo ambayo inatarajiwa kufanyika wiki ijayo. Kumekuwepo na viongozi wengi ambao wa serikalini tu na pia wa kisiasa. Tumemwona aliyekuwa spika wa seneti, tumeona viongozi mbalimbali tu hapo pia ambao wamehudhuria hafla hiyo. Kumbuka tu mtazamaji, ni kamati hiyo ambayo ilikuwa inatoa tu mwelekezo ama inazungumzia kuhusiana na maandalizi ambayo yanazidi kuendelea katika kuhakikisha kwamba hatamu za uongozi zinapokezwa katika njia iliyo shwari kabisa, ili ikiwa ni baada ya kutolewa kwa uamuzi wa mahakama hapo jana. Naam, mtazamaji, turudi hapa studioni tuendelee na mjadala ambao tulikuwa tunazungumzia tu, ikiwa hii leo tunaangazia tu kwenda mbele kwa taifa baada ya kuandaliwa kwa uchaguzi na pia mahakama kutoa uamuzi wake hapo jana kuidhinisha uchaguzi ama kuchaguliwa kwa rais mteule Daktari William Ruto. Mtazamaji, kwa hivyo tutakuwa tunarudi hapa ndani na kuendelea na mazungumzo hayo. Kumbuka ni kipindi cha Tamrini na wewe pia unaweza kuchangia mazungumzo haya. Ni vipi utafanya hivyo? Ni kupitia kwenye mitandao yetu ya kijamii Facebook, Twitter. Unaweza kuchangia, tupe tu mawili matatu kuhusiana na mjadala ambao unaendelea humu ndani. Na sasa katika mazungumzo haya katika mjadala huu tumeongezeka, tumekuja wale ambao watakuwa tunatusaidia kuelewa mazungumzo haya ama kuelewa mawili matatu tu, lipi yapi yanayotarajiwa kufanyika siku ya Jumanne. Je, Wakenya wanapaswa kufahamu nini kuhusiana na sherehe hiyo ya uapisho hapo siku ya Jumanne? Ni lipi ambalo hulifahamu? Tutakuwa tunaweza kuchanganua tu na pia kukuelezea pengine katiba inasema vipi kuhusiana na hili. Na studioni tuko na wakili Martin Olo na Isaac Okinyo ambao wameweza kuungana nasi. Shukrani sana kwa kuungana nasi katika studio zetu za KBC, kwa kutenga muda kuja kuzungumza na Wakenya ama watazamaji wa KBC. Tuanze na wewe wakili Olo. Tuelezee tu pale rais anapoapishwa, ni vitu vipi ama sherehe hiyo ya uapisho inadhihirisha nini kwa taifa?
Kwanza kabisa ni kushukuru kwa kufika, licha ya kwamba tumefika tumechelewa, lakini la muhimu ni kwamba kuna uongozi uliopo sasa hivi na kuna uongozi unaoingia. Kwa hivyo nafasi iliyopo tarehe 13 mwezi Septemba ni kuhakikisha uongozi huu ambao uliopo sasa hivi unapitisha vifaa vya uongozi. Kuna vipawa vya uongozi fulani, vyombo vya kazi na hasa katiba, na kiapo hichi ni cha kikatiba, na rais anayechukua uongozi anaapishwa kulinda katiba na kulinda Wakenya na kulinda ile nafasi tunaita ama sehemu tunaita sehemu ya Kenya, kwa sababu kuna ulinzi ambao unatakana pale wa kijeshi, kuna ulinzi wa ndani, kuna ulinzi wa nje. Kwa hivyo ni ishara kubwa sana kwamba jukumu la ulinzi wa taifa, jukumu la uendeshaji kazi na utendaji kazi wa kitaifa na uwajibikaji, majukumu hayo yanatoka kwenye mikono ya uongozi uliopo sasa, yanapitishwa kwa uongozi unaokuja. Kwa hivyo ni jambo la maana sana, kitu ambacho ni lazima ukichukulie kwa hali ambayo inatakikana ichukuliwe na ilifanyike kwa utaratibu unaofaa na kwa itifaki zinazofaa. Kwa hivyo ni kazi kubwa iliyopo pale, bila shaka kuhakikisha kwamba uongozi unatoka kwa Rais Uhuru unaenda kwake rais mteule William Ruto.
Umetaja katiba ni miongoni mwa vitu ambavyo anapewa. Pengine tutajie tuna nini chengine anachopewa na inadhihirisha nini wakati anapopokezwa ile katiba na kile chengine ambacho anapewa?
Kuna kitu atapewa, kwa mfano kuna ile sword, kuna ile ishara ya kwamba kuna haja ya kulinda taifa. Kwa hivyo anapopewa najaribu kutafuta neno la Kiswahili kwa sword, lakini
upanga.
Kuna ule upanga ambao atapewa na upanga huo unadhihirisha kwamba yuko tayari kupambana, kulinda na ikiwezekana kutumia silaha hiyo hivi kwamba nchi hii iwe na amani. Na kuna kingine ambacho hatapewa, kuna kingine atapewa, kingine hatapewa. Kuna bendera atakayopewa ya taifa. Na kuna bendera atakayokuwa ameichagua yeye mwenyewe kama rais. Kuna kala zake atazichagua, kwa hivyo utendaji kazi wake atakuwa na bendera fulani. Kwa hivyo kila rais anakuja na bendera yake. Kwa hivyo utaona kwamba atakuwa gari yake na bendera moja ya kitaifa na bendera nyingine ya urais ambayo kwa atakuwa amechagua ni kala zipi atakuwa nazo na rangi gani atakuwa nazo, na bila shaka atakuwa ananuia nini. Nataka kufikiria tu kwamba huenda akawa na rangi ya kijano, yani yellow pale, na huenda akasema, kumbuka Uhuru alikuwa ni white, alikuwa na rangi nyeupe. Kwa hivyo yeye pia anaweza kuchagua. Nafikiri kama ingekuwa ni baba, labda tungeona rangi ya blue mahali, kwa sababu anasema taifa linaenda blue ama taifa linaenda kwenye yellow.
Kwa hivyo hizo rangi za bendera ile ambayo itakuwa ni anachagua mwenyewe, ni jukumu lake mwenyewe, lakini haina
ni chaguo lake. Ni mwenzangu anataka kuchangia.
Ni kama ule msingi
ile kwa kizungu inaitwa traditions. Manake ukipata rais wa kwanza alikuwa na yake, Daniel Moi akakuwa na yake ambayo ilikuwa ni rangi ya manjano, yani green. Rais Kibaki akakuwa na ya nyeupe. Then rais anayeondoka yake ni rangi ya blue. Sasa utapata ni huo, kuna ile kama tradition yenye imekuwa ikifanyika.
Ni kama ni kila mmoja anakuja na ninio yake, rangi yake kama wanavyosema, na ni marais wote wale wakiwa mahali kokote kiwa yuko rais, utaona kwa kuna bendera ya nchi na kuna bendera na ile rangi ya na mbali na wakili alivyosema, kutakuwa na sherehe mbali ya kuapishwa pia kama kuchukua hatamu za uongozi. Jeshi pia litafanya sherehe yake pale ya kumpa ile bendera ambao ni kama kusignify au kuonesha kwa sasa wana amri jeshi mwingine ambaye anachukua mamlaka. Pia ni symbolic, lakini pia ni jambo ambalo litafanyika.
Shukrani sana kwa hilo. Nikuja kwako Bwana Ukinyo, wakili Ukinyo. Sherehe hii kikatiba, rais anayeondoka ni lazima awe katika sherehe hiyo ya kupokeza madaraka, ni lazima au si lazima?
Ukiangalia ile sheria ya Assumption of Presidency Act, ni kuna sehemu ambayo inasema rais atampatia yule yuko, atampatia huyu mwingine ile sword ama upanga, vile mwenzangu alivyosema. Sasa ni mushkil kidogo, lakini kivyangu ni ule rais anaondoka ni lazima awe, manake kuna sheria pale ambayo hii Office of Assumption, the Office of the President Assumption Act, ile kitu ambayo tumeona kina mkuu wa utumishi wa umma amekuwa akifanya, wanafanya kulingana na hiyo sheria ambayo ipo. Kumbuka kabla ya katiba mpya mwaka 2010 hakukuwa na mpangilio kama huo. Ulipata mwaka wa 2007 maneno yalifanyika, rais alijiapisha State House pale usiku. Mwaka 2002 wakati Kibaki alikuwa anachukua hatamu za uongozi kutoka kwa Daniel Moi, kulikuwa na mushkil pale Uhuru Park, vitu havikufanyika vile vinavyotakikana, ndio kwa maana hili sheria likaletwa.
Naam. Shukrani sana Bwana Ukinyo kwa hilo. Nirudi kwako wakili Olo. Kwenda mbele, rais atakayeapishwa kutakuwa na wale ambao walikuwa wanampiga jeki ama wanamuunga mkono katika vitu tu mbalimbali kuhakikisha kwamba kampeni yake imekwenda sambamba na pia uchaguzi kuchaguliwa na mpaka ametawazwa kuwa mshindi. Kutakuwa na matarajio mengi tu. Je, unadhani katika siku za kusonga mbele hili pengine kwa rais huyu ambaye anatarajiwa kuapishwa anaweza kulishughulikia vipi kuhakikisha kwamba hakutakuwa na wale ambao watahisi hatujashughulikiwa vizuri na pia wale ambao watahisi kwamba tumeangaliwa vizuri, kwenda mbele tu pengine matarajio?
Bila shaka kinachofanyika hapa ni hichi, na nataka kupeana mfano. Unapokimbia mbio, wewe ni mkimbiaji, kuna vitu vingi vinaweza kusaidia. Mungu anaweza kusaidia, upepo unaweza kusaidia, jamaa anaweza kuanguka chini, mwingine akakupa maji. Kuna mengi tu ambayo yanaweza kufanyika hapo, lakini ukimaliza zile mbio sasa, zile mbio ni wewe ndio unatakana umalize na usemekane wewe ni nambari 1. Kwa hivyo kile chochote ambacho kilikusaidia hakiwezi kuhesabika baada ya hapo. Ina maana ya kwamba baada ya kuteuliwa kama rais, kuchaguliwa kama rais, unakuwa rais. Ndio watu wanaweza kuwa wamekusaidia, lakini jukumu la kwanza ni wewe kujua kwamba unawajibika kama mtu binafsi. Hapo sasa ndio kazi inaanza. Unaanza kusema kwamba ni lazima utoe mwongozo, utoe baadhi ya maamuzi, na utoe ukiwajibika, ukijua kwamba Wakenya walikupatia wewe kiti. Lakini sasa kuna wengi ambao watasema bwana wewe ni sisi ndio tumekufikisha pale, na tunataka hichi na tunataka hicho. ndio mara nyingi unaona ya kwamba lazima kiongozi aweze kuwa na kamati ambayo inamsimamia na pia inajaribu kuangazia mambo ambayo wengi matarajio yapo. Matarajio haya lazima yaweze kusimamiwa. Na kuna kile unachosema kwa Kiingereza IOU, kuna zile ahadi unapeana pia wakati wawe kwa akili ya kwamba unazitimiza. Usipozitimiza utakuwa na mengi tu pale. Kuna wengi wanatarajia, kwa mfano umeona pale wamewekwa katika assumption of office, labda pia wako katika kamati ya mipango ambayo inaendelea. Wanatarajia kwamba nao watakuwa mezani, wengine wanatarajia kuwa mawaziri, wengine wanatarajia kuwa makatibu, wengine wanataka kuwa maspika wa mabunge na kwa hiyo kuna matarajio mengi. Shida ya kiongozi anapochaguliwa ni kuweza kusimamia ama kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba ametumia ustadi wake kuhakikisha kwamba matarajio haya yote yanaweza kupunguzwa ama yanaweza kuhakikisha kwamba yamefanywa kazi. Kwa hivyo kazi ipo, la muhimu ni kwamba kuna viti tu fulani ambavyo vinaweza kupewa mawaziri, na pia kuna nchi ambayo ni lazima huyu kiongozi aangazie. Ndio unaweza kuwa umesaidiwa na watu wako wengi, lakini huwezi kuwabeba wote. Kuna Wakenya wengine Northeastern, kuna Wakenya wengine Pwani, kuna Wakenya wengine Nairobi na wengine Kisumu na wengine. Unapotengeneza serikali kama kiongozi inabidi uangalie Kenya nzima. Jambo ngumu, sio rahisi, lakini lazima aangazie. Kwa hivyo natarajia kwamba Rais Ruto atakaporejea kwenye faraga pale na atakapokaa anakaa na yeye mwenyewe aitishe kikao chake mwenyewe binafsi kwa mkutano, ni lazima ajue kwamba ni yeye rais na kila mtu anamwangazia, waliomuunga mkono na wale hawakumuunga mkono, wote wana matarajio fulani ambayo ni lazima yatekeleze. Kumbuka ya kwamba katika kura kama hasa hizi zimeisha, kati ya watu milioni 22 ni milioni 14 tu walikuja kupiga kura. Na wengi tu ambao walikaa kando, zaidi ya milioni 8, na ambao walikuja milioni karibu 7 walimpigia Raila. Yeye alipigiwa na milioni 7 wengine. Kwa hivyo ni lazima aelewe kwamba katika kuhamasisha nchi ni lazima aangazie hawa watu wote, na wanasema Waswahili kwamba mtego wa panya ushika waliomo na wasiokuwemo. Kwa hivyo lazima ajue kwamba na wasiokuwemo wana haki zao. Kweli.
Ni matarajio mengi tu ambayo yatakuwa yanaangaziwa ama wengi watakuwa wanataka yatimizwe. Bwana Salim, turudi kwako kuhusiana na swala. Kulikuwa na ahadi ile wanasema manifesto nyingi tu, ilikuwa ni wakulima walikuwa wameahidiwa kwamba mbolea itaweza kushukishwa chini. Kuna wale ambao wenye madeni katika ile inaitwa CRB vijana kwa sana pia walikuwa wameambiwa kwamba itafutiliwa mbali, na ile mikopo ya kusoma pia ilikuwa imeahidiwa tu kwamba itaweza kuainishwa, isikuwe kwamba unalipa na bado unadaiwa deni kabla bado hujaanza kufanya kazi. Matarajio haya kwenda mbele itakuwa vipi?
Matarajio kama sote tunavyojua yako na ni makubwa sana, na kwa hakika umetaja ukulima, mbolea, na madeni ya wanafunzi na madeni yaliyoko kwa mengineo katika CRB. Kama rais mteule jana alivyozungumzia, atakuwa anakimbia mbio sana, kwa sababu haya matarajio yataka yaangaziwe upesi sana. Na nina hakika kwa sababu ana mipango ambao ameweka kabambe, na ndio maana akaweza kutoa zile ahadi alizozitoa. Ni mambo ambayo yanaweza kufanyika na yatafanyika. Na jana alizungumzia kwa katika siku zake 100 atataja siku ya Jumanne atazungumzia kuhusu masuala haya ambao katika zile ahadi alizozitoa. Na mimi sina shaka kwa kuwa hizi ahadi aliwapa wakulima, na hususan alitaja Hustler Fund ambao watu tayari wanamtumia ma SMS kumuuliza itaanza lini. Atakapokuapishwa atahakikisha jambo la kwanza anashughulikia ni hizi ahadi alizotoa, na kama hizi za mikopo ambazo alisema zingine zitafutiliwa mbali, na ni mambo ya kujipanga. na ni vipi watatizama kuhakikisha kwa kuwa bei ya mbolea imeteremshwa chini kama vile alivyoahidi, na hilo ni jambo na hakika litatimizwa.
Bwana Okinyo, pengine tu mtazamo wako kwa hilo. Matarajio haya yapo tu katika siku 100. Nadhani Wakenya wataweza kuridhishwa katika kipindi hicho.
Jambo kubwa baada ya rais wa awamu ya 5 kuapishwa, kazi kubwa itakuwa kwa asasi ya serikali. Kuna pale bunge, kuna mahakama. Haya ndio ambayo, manake rais ni binadamu kama mimi na wewe. Naweza kosea mahali, naweza kosa kufanya vitu inavyohitajika. Sasa utapata pale kuna bunge, kuna pia sisi wananchi. Sasa bunge pale ndio sheria upitishwa. Asema atafanya kitu kama Hustlers Fund, hiyo ya bilioni 1. Haizitoa hiyo pesa bila kupitia kwenye bunge. Ni bunge ndio litamsaidia. Sasa na bunge pia wananchi wanaweza kupitia wabunge wao. Waende pale bunge waseme, watu wangu waliahidiwa hii na hii na hii. Hii Hustlers Fund inakuja lini? Waziri wa fedha, njoo hapa utuambie hii Hustlers Fund tunaanza kuipata lini? Sasa kazi kubwa sana iko kwa haya asasi ya serikali kama bunge na mahakama. Mahakama itakuja pale ambapo tuseme kuna tashwishi mahali, kama vile uliuliza mwalimu hapa, maneno ya ajira. Unajua katiba yasema kwamba ajira yoyote lazima ionyeshe ile uwazi wa Ukenya. Huwezi chukua watu kama 3 kutoka sehemu moja uweke kwa department moja. Pale mtu anaweza enda mahakama ya juu na apate mwelekeo kwamba haya kazi ambayo hawa wamepewa haistahili kufanywa hivyo. Hawastahili watu wenye wametoka eneo moja, sehemu moja wawekwe wengi kwa idara moja. Sasa kazi kubwa sana ni kwetu sisi wote. Tusimwache tu vile alisema ni Hustlers Fund. Alisema vitu vingi, alisema mpaka hiyo mbolea itarudi hadi 2,500. Kutakuwa na waziri pale wa ukulima. Huyo ndio sasa kupitia kwa rais, huyo ndio sasa atakuwa na kazi. Mkenya unaweza enda umwambie ni hivi, waziri ulisema hivi. Wabunge pia nayo wamuite pale waseme mbolea, Hustler alitupromise mbolea itakuwa 2,000. Nini yafanyika? Waziri wa fedha, hii pesa ya mbolea ushatoa? Naam.
Wakili, waliotusalia hapo tuka katika kutimiza matarajio ama yale manifesto. Mbolea kushukishwa chini, Hustlers Fund kutengwa. Je, ilivyo kwa sasa hivi taifa linaweza kumudu hilo kiuchumi?
Kwanza kabisa tuulize, kuna matarajio hii serikali itakuwa kweli ya mtu wa kawaida, hustler, mtu poloi wanaweza kuingia katika ikulu wakati wote wanapotaka, waingie kwa ofisi wakati wote? Hilo ni jambo la maana sana. Kuna wengi wanatarajia kwamba hii serikali itakuwa na uwazi bwana. Ukitaka chochote unaingia pale, unauliza, unapewa.
Lakini naamini kwamba kuna asasi za kuhakikisha kwamba kunakuwa na uwazi.
Kumbuka kwamba wamesema ni serikali ya mtu wa kawaida, kwa sababu tumetoka mahali tunasema tutaki serikali ya watu wakubwa ya dynasty. So kwa hivyo,
lakini hata sidhani kama unaweza toka tu ukapita ukaenda katika ikulu. Lazima kuwe na utaratibu.
Zainab, haimaanishi hivyo mwalimu anavyosema, kwa kuwa hata kama ni hatutaki dynasty, ni serikali ambayo itakuwa ni serikali ya wananchi.
Yes.
Na ikiwa ni serikali ya wananchi, zile asasi na zile nidhamu zilizoko bunge kupitia taasisi fulani, sio watu watakwenda kiholela ati sasa ndio wanaingia State House tunataka hivi. La, utakuwa na utaratibu
waweze kufikia serikali yao. Lakini la muhimu kwamba kuna baadhi ya matarajio. Mimi binafsi na matarajio, niliambiwa kwamba nitakuwa na hela mfukoni. Mimi naangazia hilo swali, naomba kuona hizo hela zitaingiaje mfukoni mwangu. Kuna mengi tu kuhusu unga, kuna mengi kuhusu gharama ya maisha. Tunaahidiwa kwamba tutaona ikirudi chini, na kuna wengi ambao wana matarajio kwamba hii serikali itawapa nafasi nyingi ajira, lakini la mno na nafasi za kufanya biashara na mambo mengine kama hayo. Kwa hivyo kuna matarajio makubwa. Ni kusema tu ya kwamba kuahidi ni jambo moja, kutekeleza ni lingine, lakini itategemea nia na njia. Wanasema panapo nia pana njia. Iwapo kuna nia papatikane njia. Lakini iwapo nia itaisha, basi njia pia itapotea.
Zainab, kuchangia kidogo, haya matekelezi au kutekelezwa kwa hizi ahadi, ni vipi serikali itakavyofanya kazi? Ikiwa serikali itafanya kazi kwa njia sawa na kupeleka yale matarajio na ahadi walizozitoa katika bunge, hususan haya tu yaloahidiwa kama mbolea kuteremka bei, Hustlers Fund, nina hakika kuna njia ambayo mwanzo itapita kwenye bunge ihakikishwe kwa iko chini ya sheria, kwa sababu hata hiyo Hustler Fund haiwezi kupeana ikiwa sheria haikupita katika bunge. Exchequer haitaweza kutoa pesa ikiwa haikupita pale bunge. Kwa hiyo jambo la kwanza ambalo rais mteule atafanya ni kuhakikisha kwa kuwa mswada umekwenda bunge kutengeneza Hustler Fund na kutengeza njia ya namna gani mbolea itateremka chini. La muhimu ni kukua ni vipi serikali itakavyoendeshwa. Tutaiendesha serikali kimabavu au tutaendesha serikali vile ambayo inatakikana kuleta miswada bunge ya pitu. Na tuna bahati bunge la safari hii, kama mkizitizama numbers utaona 162 kwa 159. Na kwa hivyo ni bunge ambalo wazungu watalita ni karibu hanged, liko karibu sana katika hususan najua katika watu wengine watasema tayari rais mteule ameanza kuwavutia.
Sasa hilo ndio lilikuwa linakuja swali.
Nitakuachia swali hilo.
Hapo tuzungumze na wakili wa Kenya. Bunge litakuwa lina mchango mkubwa katika kuhakikisha kwamba vingi tu vilivyoahidiwa vinaweza kutekelezwa ama havitotekelezwa. Baada ya tume ya IEBC kumtangaza kwa mneneo mshindi rais mteule Bwana William Ruto, tumeona kuna watu ambao wamekuja wakiwa kija upande wake wa bunge. Sasa hili litaweza kuathiri vipi katika kuhakikisha kwamba pengine kuna vitu ambavyo vinapingwa na kuna vitu ambavyo vinaidhinishwa bungeni?
Wajua, kwa mwono wangu ni kwamba pale bungeni baada zaidi ya miaka 10 baada ya kupitisha katiba hatulipati lile jambo sawa. Kitambo baada ya katiba mpya kulikuwa na wale wabunge wa serikali na wale wabunge wa upinzani. Sasa hii kuna wale ambao ni wengi bungeni na wale ambao ni wachache bungeni. Kazi ya mbunge ambaye ni wachache sio kupinga serikali, ama wale ambao ni wengi ni kupitisha hoda yote ya serikali. Bunge wako pale 349 wote kuchangia mswada. Aidha kama ulikuwa ulipigiwa kura na wale wa upinzani ama wa serikali, kazi yenu ni moja, kupitisha mswada. Si kama kitambo ambapo kazi ya upinzani ilikuwa ile serikali ikileta mswada au ndio wanapiga serikali asasi. Ile mswada inakuja, kazi sasa ni ya wapinzani kupiga hiyo sheria msasa. Ni wabunge wote, ni jukumu la wabunge wote. Bunge la sasa chini ya katiba mpya hairuhusu wale wabunge wa serikali kukua tu kazi yao ni kupitisha tu mswada, zikikuja kazi yao ni kupitisha, na wale wa upinzani pia kazi yao ni kupinga. Wabunge kikatiba vile ninavyoelewa ya sasa yafaa wafanye kazi kwa kimoja. Kama kitu ni mbaya hata imetoka kwa serikali, wabunge wote waungane waseme hii mswada ni mbaya, hii mswada ni mzuri. Sasa kurudi kwa kitu ambao umeniuliza, ambao naibu wa rais ananunua wabunge, unajua pia kuna siasa pale. Manake pia yeye alisema anataka kwa kimombo inaitwa foot soldiers, ambapo mswada wa serikali ikipitishwa pale pia zinaenda haraka haraka. Ako na numbers pale kwenye bunge. Kitu cha pili ni kwamba anawachukua ile kuonesha kwamba pia ako na umati kisiasa. Manake kwa hivi sasa ni upande wa Azimio ambao ndio uko na wabunge wengi kuliko upande wa Kenya Kwanza. Azimio iko kama haiko kwa serikali. Kenya Kwanza iko kwa serikali. Na ukiwa pale bunge na uko na wabunge wachache, kidogo utakuwa na shida kupitisha miswada zako pale bungeni. Ndio nafikiria alipiga hesabu haraka, akaona chukua wabunge kidogo kidogo wajaze upande wa serikali.
Ningedhani vile alivyokuwa anaendelea sio lazima awe na wingi wa bunge. Vile ulivyosema, kazi ya wabunge sio kupigia debe serikali. Kazi ya wabunge ni kupiga msasa na kuhakikisha kwamba wanatutetea sisi kama Wakenya. Kwa sababu mwisho sio kutetea serikali. Na ndio maana nafikiri ulianza vizuri, lakini kumaliza sikubaliani. Sio lazima awe na wingi, lazima aweke utaratibu mwafaka.
Na hapo pia kwa kusema kwamba kununua sidhani
na mimi ndio nilikuwa nataka kuliweka hilo sawa.
Kwenda mbali lazima utakwenda peke yako, lakini kama ukitaka kwenda haraka utakwenda peke yako. Ukitaka kwenda mbali lazima uwe na
watu. Zainab, nilikuwa nataka kumwambia ndugu yangu hapa, rais mteule hajanunua wabunge. Kama ulisikiza hotuba yake jana kwa makini, alisema kuna watu wengine ambao walilemewa na serikali, walikuwa tayari wao ni wanaegemea upande wake, lakini hilo tusilinio sana kwa sababu ya wale walikuwa wamekwenda upande wake sasa, au upande wa Kenya Kwanza sasa, kwa hakika wana maono sawa na yale ambao Kenya Kwanza walikuwa wanasema. La muhimu ni kama ndugu zangu walivyosema, ikwa bunge ikiwa liko pale latakikaniwa kisheria watetee mtu yoyote, kama ni mswada mbaya wasimamie uzuri. Kama tuchukue mfano bunge hili ambalo lililopita, kitu ambacho walishindwa kufanya ni kumudu madeni yale serikali wanachukua. Wangelikuwa wanasema hapa serikali mumetukosea, na mumetukosea raia wote wa Kenya, kwa kuwa madeni yale yalikuwa ni ya juu sana. Kwa hivyo kama walivyozungumzia wabunge, tunawatarajia wakiwako pale, jambo ambalo litawadhuru wa Kenya wasimame wote kwa pamoja, waseme hapa hili linadhuru na serikali irakibishe, ifanye hivi ambalo litawafaidi wananchi wetu.
Je, hilo litafanyika? Tutasubiri tuone tu, maanake sote tutakuwa humo nchini. Wakili Olo, hapo kwa miradi kwamba deni la taifa lilizidi likaongezeka. Katika kampeni pale awali, naibu wa rais na pia mwandani wake ambaye wameingia naye ambaye ni mkuu wa chama cha ANC Bwana Musalia, walikuwa wakipiga baadhi ya miradi mikuu tu, wakisema kwamba ndio inayozidi kuchangia kuzidi kuongezeka kwa deni la taifa. Lakini katika siku za hivi majuzi na hata hapo jana, rais mteule alisema kwamba atakuwa anaendeleza miradi ambayo ilikuwa imeanzishwa na mtangulizi wake Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Je, hili linakwenda vipi?
Ndio ukweli wa mambo. Kuna kampeni upande na kuna ukweli upande mwingine. Ukweli ni kwamba tayari serikali hii ina mikakati, ina mipango, ina baadhi ya miradi ambayo tayari kama ni mikopo ishachukuliwa na ni lazima mikopo ilipwe. Serikali moja inapoondoka na nyingine inapokuja ni lazima ulipe mikopo ya serikali ile nyingine. Kama kuna ruzuku ambayo inatumika lazima itumike jinsi ilivyokusudiwa. Kwa hivyo kuna ukweli wa mambo na kuna ukweli wa kampeni. Sasa tumetoka kwenye kampeni, tuko kwa ukweli wa mambo. Kuna kitu ambacho tumesema hapa na pia ndugu yangu Salim amesema, huwezi kulaumu serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta eti kwa sababu imeongezea madeni. Rejea kwenye bunge, ni bunge ndilo linalopitisha bajeti, linatengeneza bajeti na linapitisha bajeti. Appropriation Committee ya bunge ndio kazi ya bunge. Ni bunge pia ndio inaweka kiwango cha mkopo ule ambao unaweza kuchukuliwa. Kwa hivyo usilaumu executive, uliza legislation, uliza wanabunge kwamba wakati mnapopitisha sheria hii, wakati kagua matumizi ya serikali, ni nini nimeangazia. Sio siku zile ambazo waziri wa fedha alikuwa anafanya bajeti anaipitishia tu bunge. Sasa ni bunge linafanya hiyo kazi pamoja na waziri wa fedha kulingana na sera iliyowekwa kwa pamoja. Bajeti ni ya bunge, sio ya serikali tena.
Nafikiri hukunielewa hapo, na mimi nilizungumzia bunge. Nilisema kwa kuwa wabunge wangelikuwa wamesema kwa hapa serikali inaenda vibaya,
basi ama wangelipinga na wasitoe uamuzi, wasitoe. Ndio maana tulisema kazi ya bunge sio kwenda tu kupitisha miswada kwa sababu imeletwa na serikali. Wala kwa mfano kesho kutakuwa na mswada wa kupitisha katiba. Kazi ya wabunge sio kupitisha tu. Kazi ya wabunge ni kulinda katiba. Na iwapo watapitisha kitu ambacho kitakuwa kinyume cha katiba, kama vile walivyofanya kwenye BBI, kumbuka kwamba Mkenya wa kawaida ataenda mahakamani na mahakama huenda ikasema hili haliambatani na katiba. Kwa hivyo kuna kazi kubwa. Kile ningependa kusema ni kwamba tumetoka kwenye kampeni. Sasa tunaunda serikali. Katika kuunda serikali lazima tuweze kuwajibika. Kuna madeni tuko nayo, lazima tulipe. Kuna interest ambazo iko na madeni haya hapo na lazima tulipe. Na tunapozungumzia mambo haya yote, serikali lazima iendelee. Kuna miradi mpya ambayo itakuja, lakini huwezi kusema serikali haitachukua mikopo. Ili serikali yoyote iendelee duniani
lazima kuwepo mikopo. Hata binadamu wewe lazima lazima uwe.
Niko na maoni hapo.
Kabla lije hapo, manake itakuwa ni kauli yako ya mwisho. Shukrani sana wakili Bwana Okinyo. Kwa hiyo tu kauli yako ya mwisho tukimalizia mazungumzo haya. Lazima serikali isonge mbele, lazima Wakenya wasonge mbele. Matarajio tu ya ujumbe wako tu kwa Wakenya kuhusiana na matarajio yao serikali mpya inapojiandaa kuchukua hatamu za uongo.
Kwanza Zainab, kuna tofauti kidogo. Unajua tumekuwa na serikali ni moja kuanzia mwaka wa 1964. Kumekuwa na serikali moja. Ni ile yenye kama mkuu utumishi wa umma amesema ile administration, the next administration. Sasa ni wananchi tu ndio ni binadamu ndio wanaobadilishwa. Lakini tumekuwa na serikali mpya. Kitu yenye natarajia kutoka kwa hii serikali ni Rais Ruto amefanya campaign kuonesha kwamba analeta uongozi mpya, uongozi wa mwananchi. Amesema kwamba tangu tupate uhuru, nchi imeshikwa na wale ambao wanaitwa dynasties. Sasa amesema analeta serikali ya usawa, serikali ya mwananchi. Kama vile Mwalimu alisema ile ukitaka hata kwenda kunywa maji pale State House utaingia. Si kumaanisha kwamba Mkenya ataingia, lakini Mkenya yoyote akitaka kitu yoyote hata kaguliwa kwamba wewe hauna, wewe uko nayo. Hivyo ndio amesema kwa kampeni zake. Tunataka kuona hiyo ikitendeka. Nataka kuona bunge ikifanya kazi yake. Kwanza manake ukiangalia kazi mingi kwa katiba mpya ya sahi ni bunge ndio ina uzito mkubwa sana. Wacha hata hii serikali. Manake serikali iko pale. Serikali inaendeshwa na binadamu. Lakini wabunge ndio pale wanaweza vitu mingi sana zapitia pale bunge. Kumbuka bajeti yote ya mwaka yote yapitia kwa bunge. Tuko na maneno ya ili deni ambalo liko juu zaidi. Na ni wabunge ndio wanaweza jaribu kurudisha hiyo chini ama kufanya vingine. Tuko na watu wanalia hali ya uchumi iko juu. Tunataka kuona hasla atafanya nini akiingia pale.
Naam. Bila shaka hayo yote itabidi tusubiri tu tuweze kujua atafanya nini akiingia afisini na vipi taifa litaweza kusonga mbele. Shukrani sana kwa kauli yako hiyo. Dakika za kuhesabika tu. Matarajio haya na ujumbe wako tu kwa Wakenya hata unapozidi kufunga matarajio yao. Dakika za kuhesabika tu, sekunde 3.
Dakika kwa upesi tu. Nafikiria ni vile serikali ya rais mteule itakavyojipanga katika kumudu haya madeni na vipi itaji-reorganize kwa sababu ndio uchumi uko mbaya na mambo mengi yameenda vibaya. Yarekebishwe ndio tupate kupata hizi ahadi. Japokuwa ndugu yangu alisema kampeni ni mambo mengine na kutimiza mambo mengine, lakini naamini kwa kuwa yaweza kutimizwa ikiwa watajipanga kisawa na watatumia bunge kwa kuleta yale miswada ambayo yatahudumia wananchi wetu, na tuhakikishe mwalimu amepata pesa mfukoni na matarajio mengine. Asante sana.
Na bila shaka kupata pesa mfukoni ni matarajio ya wengi tu, sio mwalimu wakili Olo peke yake. Pia mimi ningetarajia kupata pesa mfukoni. Shukrani sana mtazamaji, amekuwa ni mazungumzo ya tamrini, ambapo hii leo tulikuwa tunaangazia tu kwenda mbele baada ya uchaguzi, ni yapi ambayo tunatarajia na ni yapi ambayo matarajio wa Kenya yataweza kutimizwa vipi. Kauli zikiwa nyingi tu hapa, mzigo wote unasalia katika bunge kuhakikisha kwamba mambo yanakwenda katika mstari shwari ama yanaweza kutekelezwa kikamilifu. Mimi ni Zainab Saib, nasema kwa niaba ya wageni wangu wote waliokuwa hapa ndani hii leo, tunasema shukrani sana kwa muda wako. Mola akiridhia tutakutana tena hewani wakati mwingine. Masalam.
Yani ina maana nchi ama mji ikiwa na amani, unakuta hata nchi zingine zinawadhamini, zinawafadhili sana, zinawaaminia.
Muislamu wa kisawasawa ni yule ambaye anadumisha amani, anaepukana na maneno ambayo yanaweza kupelekea kuvurugika kwa amani, na vitendo vyake pia huwa vinahusika na kuhifadhi amani.
Ukiniangalia mimi ni mtu kununua second hand.
You look second hand yourself right now.
Mimi nakaondieka. Niangalie hivi, nakaondieka.
Not with those. Maybe with the tummy. No.
But Tosha.
Huyu hata tujuani. Do you know me?
Are baba.
We know each other.
Iko saying lines hapo.
When husband ni houseboy. Nini wewe inakusumbua?
Wako ha?
Yes.
Jambo.
Fine, thank you. Oh my God. No. Let me talk the truth and accept the devil, please. Please.
Babyface.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like that. Yes.
Babyface.
Yeah.
Ulionaje kazi yangu? Skills zangu za uzaji zikoaje?
You are excellent.
Wewe mzee. Hatuko hapa mchezo.
Ni kweli vile hata naliambia.
Sasa ukisha si uongee vile unaongea.
There. Good boys gone bad. Eric Omondi has evolved from being a comedian to now being the king clout chaser.
How does a gospel artist make money? Jaguar wet again.
As a celeb, as a followers, but it's a time for artists to make bank.
How is your relationship with Zari, considering that she dates young?
These are accessories.
They get out of set. Slap the guy.
Yo, what's up? My name is Ted Josiah.
Oh, mashallah.
You sing about serious issues, it will not trend. If you sing about Abiambosi.
No. Bahati hata kuwa na machozi. Willy Paul ndio alikuwa anatoa machozi.
For your beat these boys with stones. That's all the logic. Yesu ashukangi chini analeta pesa.
Musicians are missing the point.
Do we sip water?
You are watching Pop Culture with Adhiambo with a Y.
He's lived a tragic life. All these years, he's always been on his own.
Let's pretend this never happened. But even though I fixed her eyes, she can't handle brightness.
Master, I'm finally back to see you. See now, all these years without my blood, why hasn't his body even changed a bit?
I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to have a happy life.
Kupata Zaburi 18 mstari wa pili, dial *811*817#. Mwenyezi Mungu ni mwamba wangu, ngome yangu na mkombozi wangu. Mungu wangu, mwamba wangu ninayemkimbilia ninapohitaji kuwa salama. Zaburi 18 mstari wa pili. Zaburi 18 mstari wa pili, dial *811*817#. *811*817#.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. Well, our sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. My name is Jackie Wimbiru. Well, to kick us off this afternoon, we shall be taking a look at stories from various areas in the country as well as across borders. And to kick us off right now, the Presidential Assumption of Office Committee has declared Tuesday next week a public holiday for Kenyans to witness a transition from the 4th to the 5th administration. The committee that met Tuesday under the leadership of Head of Public Service, who is also the committee's chairperson, Joseph Kenywa, has now incorporated Davis Chirchir, Justin Muturi, Gladys Boschole, and Veronica Maina, who have been appointed by the President-elect William Ruto. Kenywa saying the swearing-in ceremony will be held on Tuesday, the 13th of September at Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, and the event will take place from 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. The swearing-in ceremony will be led by the Chief Registrar of Judiciary before the Chief Justice, Martha Koome.
I think we can begin. Okay, tuko tayari. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen of the press, fellow Kenyans, in keeping with President Kenyatta's firm commitment to facilitate a smooth transition to the incoming administration, as announced yesterday, I'm pleased to notify the nation that I have this morning chaired a meeting of the Assumption of the Office of the President Committee. The meeting was preceded by the decision of our nation's apex court that upheld the declaration of His Excellency William Ruto as President-elect. We convened this morning to progress on the preparations for the transition from the 4th administration to the 5th administration that have been ongoing from the 12th of August. The peaceful and orderly transition in administrations is hallmark of our democracy and an essential testament of a nation's status as a beacon of stability, democracy, and the rule of law. The mandate bestowed upon the committee is sacred, and the burden of that responsibility is heavy. We are cognizant that we are called upon to exercise this solemn mandate with fidelity to our laws and with the aspirations of our North Star, that is the Kenyan people. Today's meeting featured the representatives of the President-elect, including Mr. Davis Shishu, Honorable Justin Muturi, Honorable Gladys Bose Cholei, and Ms. Veronica Maina. Would like to inform the nation that the swearing-in ceremony and inauguration of the new administration will be held in fidelity with Article 141 of the Constitution, being the first Tuesday following yesterday's decision by the Supreme Court upholding the declaration of the EIBC. That date is Tuesday, 13th September 2022, and the ceremonies shall be held at Moi International Stadium, Kasarani. The date of the swearing-in will be a public holiday of general observance throughout the territory of the Republic of Kenya. The formal Gazette notices will be issued later in the week. The process of the swearing-in event and the inauguration ceremony are elaborately set out under both the Constitution and the statute law. The President-elect shall take the oath of office as administered by the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary before Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice. As per the law, this must take place any time between the hours 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Thereafter, the President-elect will also be sworn in. The Deputy President-elect will be sworn in. With the presidential election cycle now behind us, the swearing-in and the inauguration ceremony is an opportunity for the nation to not only witness and usher in our nation's fifth administration, but also to celebrate the strength and vibrancy of our constitutional and democratic processes, which differentiates Kenya from so many other nations in Africa and beyond. For that reason, the eyes of Africa and indeed the rest of the world will be on Kenya on that day. In that regard, all Kenyans are invited to be part of this historic event. To all Kenyans, as the leadership of our government transitions into the fifth administration, we are called upon to join hands and continue with the sacred work of building our nation, Kenya, a nation worthy of the sacrifices of our forefathers during the struggle for independence, and building the very best nation that we can bequeath to our future generations. I thank you, and may God bless our beloved nation, Kenya. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Asanteni.
And now in other news, Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization has congratulated President-elect William Ruto on his Supreme Court victory. Led by its chairperson Rehab Moyo, the organization urged him to embrace unity and work with all leaders.
And in 2017, I remember he really mapped us out as we campaigned, and I went around this country, and he is an astute politician. We must give this to him, that maybe this divorce kind of thing was meant to reach him where he finds himself. I think God has a lot of ways of taking you to a destination. That has been his way of getting to his destination. So, Your Excellency, President-elect Dr. William Samoei Ruto, we say congratulations. You have worked hard. You have gone around this country, and for Mama Rachel, you have been on your knees, and God has found it fit to give you this honor. So on behalf of the board, the patron, there's so many million members, we congratulate you, sir. So to you, sir, you are now the symbol of the unity in Kenya, the incoming President Ruto. What do we ask of you? Over 6 million 942, 193 members voted on the other side. It is my prayer and hope that you find it in your heart. We have seen a lot of prayers around you. You find it in your heart to embrace them. So it is important then to say that Maendeleo as an organization works with the government, and we said this 2 weeks ago of the day.
Police in Kamulu, Njiro sub-county are investigating a case where 2 young men were found dead along Kangunda Road between Kamulu and Joska Bridge. The 2 unidentified men had head and abdomen injuries as well as bruises on their legs.
The 2 men are said to have conducted robbery in Mutula area of Mutungulu sub-county in Machakos County and were escaping through Kagunda Road. Members of the public caught up with them near Athe River Bridge before Kamulu town and meted justice on them. Police collected the phones, money, and other belongings at the scene, which may be helpful in conducting investigations. This comes at a time when crime has been on the rise in the area, with thieves, mostly youth, have been mugging people and escaping on motorcycles. Police promised to curb crime in the area. Ethelinda, reporting for Lunchtime News.
Newly elected leaders in Tana River County have vowed to work together to develop the county, led by Governor Dado Godana. They assured residents of a cohesive approach in solving problems affecting the region with the overall goal of improving livelihoods.
Tana River Governor Dado Godana noted his first term was marked by an end in wrangles with the county assembly and a 2.4 billion shillings debt he had inherited.
So we did well in terms of projections. We had challenges in budgets occasioned by the huge debt we had. We had the challenge of divided focuses between us and the assembly. We had the challenges of indifference among leaders.
Tana River Senator-elect Danson Mungatana also challenged elected leaders to implement their manifestos.
Tutafanya kazi vizuri, migongano ya zamani ya kwamba sijui speaker anapiga governor anapiga speaker, senator haeleweki. Hiyo mambo tunataka kumaliza. This time round, wale viongozi ambao wamechaguliwa kwa upande wa MCAs, kwa upande wa Senate, na najua yule speaker atachaguliwa na governor ambaye watu wamemchagua, tutafanya kazi kwa ajili ya watu wa Tana River.
Embalted former Speaker Justin Nkaduda, who is seeking the post again, said his impeachment in the last term was caused by infighting among members of the county assembly. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Elvis Otieno.
Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi says he will only absorb employees from the previous county administration whose performance has been exemplary. Wamatangi regretted that half of the 7 billion shillings revenue potential of Kiambu County is lost to corruption, which he undertook to curb.
Kiambu County boss Kimani Wamatangi says his administration will see loopholes in ensuring accountability on county revenues. According to Wamatangi, the county's recruitment exercise of employees will be guided by competency, previous delivery record, and merit.
You have to be absolutely responsible. Ya kwamba wakati unaona bili imewekelewa kwenye meza yako ama umepatiwa quotation yoyote, you have to first ask yourself the question, if it was me, if it was your money you are using, would you pay for that item or that service at that cost? Go and look for a better deal. That's the way you are going to work, ladies and gentlemen.
The county boss says ghost workers of the county government of Kiambu will not have space under his administration.
Tuliambiwa ya kwamba we have the capacity 4 years to do 7 billion. Towards now, we should be clocking 10 plus billion. We are only doing 3.1 billion, less than half. I will escort you home, myself, personally, and I will not even tweak an eye neither will I blink wakati tunafanya hiyo, because we must restore this county.
Wamatangi spoke during a meeting with staff from the region's sub-counties, where he urged employees to execute their duties with responsibility and accountability.
Unasikia timu mfanyikazi amekaa miezi 5, miezi 6 hajalipwa allowances zake. But do you know why those allowances are not paid? The reason why they're not paid is because our money is getting lost in other places. Ndio unaona magari, unasikia gari hiyo iko na bili 1800, hiyo iko na bili 1900, hii iko na hii na zimejaa kwa magarage. Asanteni sana.
On their part, the staff asked the new county boss to ensure a conducive working environment. Irene Mchuma Odim, The Lunchtime News.
Meanwhile, residents of Kibera have committed to maintain peace after the Supreme Court verdict yesterday and move on with their lives. The residents were engaged in several peace caravans while the Shining Hope for Communities movement on the importance of keeping the peace so that the community moves forward. Shofco Chief Executive Officer Kennedy Odede announced plans to continue engaging the country in more peace caravans, even as the residents said they accept the court's verdict and they're ready now for the new administration to come in and steer the country forward into economic development.
We don't want to destroy our properties. We just want to live with love. Vijana wa Kibera pia wakaleta amani. And honestly, right now, my message is that as we're moving forward, we have to listen to the voices of the community. They've proven that themselves they can bring peace.
Tumetumisha amani tangu mambo ya election ianze. Kuanzia mwanzo wa nominations tumekuwa tukiomba, tukitembea, tukitangaza amani, tukifanya mkutano ya door to door.
Jirani yako ndio ndugu wako wa karibu. Wakati unakosa, yeye ndiye atakuwa wa karibu wa kukusaidia.
Saa kama hizi ingekuwa watu 100 wameshakufa. Lakini Mungu amesimama na sisi, tumeendesha amani hapa ndani ya Kibera.
Tukasema kila mtu atembee na mwenzake kama kabila yake. Sisi hatuna Ujaluo, hatuna Kikuyu, hatuna Mnandi, sisi wote ni wana Kenya.
The upholding of William Ruto's win in the 2022 general election by the Supreme Court continues to be received with jubilation. A section of Kenyans in Isiolo and Busia counties expressed confidence the president-elect will unite the country and address the rising cost of living.
Business in Isiolo County came to a standstill temporarily as hundreds of traders joined in celebrating Monday's verdict by the Supreme Court on the presidential election petition. The traders who had jammed the streets in celebratory regalia expressed their confidence in the president-elect William Ruto.
Tunaomba ukaweze kutukumbuka. Kama vile ulikuja na bottom up. Wacha ikakuwe bottom up, ikatutoe chini, ikitupandisha juu. Tunajua mahali tutaenda tukiwa na wewe. Tafadhali kumbuka wamama wa Isiolo. Sisi tulikuja ukachukua ahadi kwa niaba ya wamama wengine wote. Wamama Isiolo tuko wengi na tunakupenda. Usindanganywa na mtu, Isiolo ni nyumbani.
Tunataka president wetu elect ambaye ni William Samoei Ruto akuje afishe hiyo bottom up na sisi wananchi wa kawaida tuweze kusaidika.
And in Busia County, a section of residents expressed mixed reactions following the ruling. The residents appealed to the president-elect to deliver on his manifesto and serve all Kenyans without favorism.
Nimefurahi kwa sababu ni kijana mwenye amechukua kiti na tumefurahia na naona uongozi wake utakuwa uongozi wa haki. Sababu gani? Amekuwa vice na ametuongoza na president mwenye amekuwa.
Usifanye kazi kwa mapendeleo ati hao wako nipigia kura, hao walinipigia kura. Fanya kazi kama fanyia Wakenya wote kazi. Sisi kama wananchi tuishi na amani kama ndugu na dada, kila mtu afanye kazi yake, jasho yako nitakusaidia, si ya mwanasiasa.
Opicho Chemtai for Lunchtime News.
Well, that report brings us to our first break here on Lunchtime News. Don't go too far. We'll be back with more news.
Umeliona gazeti la leo?
This is still disturbing.
Hivi ndio wenzako washapatana basi.
Huyo alipita iko wapi?
Ngoja lifunguke. Kwani yuanza yeye kupenda? Atakuachaje siku zote hizo aje akurudie sasa? Yaani hapo hushiki mita.
Nimekupigania sana Leo. Tumepitia mambo mengi sana mimi na wewe. Babangu mimi nitamwambia nini?
Na usijaribu kunidanganya. Usijaribu kunidanganya kwa sababu faili niliziona.
How do you find your grandmother? How much do you love her? Come on, you have to trust me.
What's going on, Madam Warden? Please tell me, am I being set free now?
I want to talk to her and hear from her what happened on the day my father died. But who really are you, Mother? The unfaithful woman who left me to run off with another man like what my dad had said?
Don't start jumping to conclusions.
Oh, but why not? Huh?
No, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back.
Karibuni sana to the Second Chance TV game show.
Tough questions.
Virunga National Park is located within which mountain ranges? Aberdare. Aberdare? That's your final answer?
Tough challenges.
3, 2, 1.
It's a survival for the smartest.
10 seconds to go. Who is the current president of Malawi?
Wrong answer.
That is the wrong answer. Does it border to the east? Nakuru County. Nakuru County, you get 2,000 bob.
Premiering soon on Channel 1.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Welcome back. Now, a section of the clergy in Nyeri County has urged President-elect William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua to ensure the unity of all Kenyans after being sworn in, terming the duo's win as a great achievement for all communities in the country. The clergy urged the president-elect to work towards bringing together all the 47 counties.
Led by Bishop Paul Wanjoy of the New Life Church, the evangelical churches in Nyeri County have termed the win by President-elect William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua as a great achievement of the wholesome development of the country.
As you embark on your new position, our sincere prayers and love remains with you, that God will grant you more favor and wisdom.
Thanking Kenyans for remaining peaceful during the elections and for remaining tolerant even after the results were challenged to the Supreme Court, the clerics also termed the duo's victory as a win for the church.
It is an open secret that you have partnered with the church previously. We trust that under your great leadership and guidance, you will bring together the country and take it to greater heights and achievement.
At the same time, a section of the clergy in Kiambu County is expressing hope of inclusion in the next government. Speaking in Kiambaa constituency, Reverend Frederick Ngugi Mwangi said the church is looking forward to actualization of campaign manifestos.
We made a memorandum with our President, William Ruto, and I'm assuring you, William Ruto does not lie. He is not a man. He does not practice deceit. He is going to fulfill all what he promised.
Brokero for Lunchtime News.
And now across borders, 35 Civilians were killed and 37 wounded in Burkina Faso on Monday when the vehicle they were traveling in struck an improvised explosive device.
The attack in Burkina Faso occurred in an area where Islamic militants have escalated attacks on villages, police, and military outposts since 2015. The vehicle carrying supplies was in a convoy heading to the capital, Ouagadougou. The incident occurred between the northern